So, welcome to another episode of some bullshit. We got Kyle today. How you doing, Kyle?
How funny would it be if I just didn't say anything this whole podcast and you guys just like talked to me and I didn't say anything, so people just thought you were crazy?
Unplugged or some shit. That'd be great. You know,
now that you mention it,
I don't think we're good enough at podcasting yet to start doing some like avant-garde shit.
yeah,
So probably stick with the normal format for now.
sure.
Let's save that for Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
So Kyle, I know you're a friend of Steve's. You guys, where'd you guys meet? It was at Northridge.
I've never met this person in my life. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, it must have been
who he
different
is.
Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Punish Steve. This is completely different than Naked Steve as he was before.
Yes.
He's a different guy, so I can see why you don't recognize him.
I know
anymore.
his clone Venom Steve.
Yeah, no, Venom Steve's off the rails. We got to get him on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll look into that.
Maybe you think he talks like this, but he really talks like this.
So
All right.
yeah. Anyway, Kyle is a longtime friend of ours. He's a
I met you like a couple times at Northridge.
Yeah.
I forget what we were doing. I think one of the times we were doing mixing or making the video,
Yeah.
music video for fucking Definitives, and then another time
I think I've seen you at like Mr. Lonely shows and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
he came to a Definitive show.
Oh yeah, that's a classic band right there.
You're at the Key Club, right?
It was. I saw you guys at the Whiskey A Go Go.
Oh, the whiskey.
Okay.
Was that the one?
It was the one where your singer wasn't.
Oh, the instrumental one. Okay.
Well, that's the last one.
Yeah, the last ever performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I unfortunately missed the one where Sean shouted, what do you say?
Jimmy Page.
1975.
Yeah. Classic riff rock.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I didn't know you went to our shows. That's nice.
Yeah.
He's
He's been in the loop for a while now.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is his first time in Camarillo.
Oh,
in the
really?
Beef
You never
Queen.
no, been here before?
No, I have. It was
World famous Camarillo?
back in September when you
With the
did
outlets?
Was that?
That's right. Oh
Yeah.
my god. Oh my god. He was at the meeting. He
What
showed up.
meeting?
Remember that barbecue I had to put together? That like everybody showed up at different times.
Oh yeah,
The one for the original idea.
Lost Beat
Yeah,
6,
for Lost
like,
Beat
the
6 idea.
brainstorm.
So he
probably
was
never
there.
more than like 3 people there
Kyle's
at a
been
time.
here from the beginning.
All right.
Yeah,
So that's good.
I'm an original founder. I've actually haven't been paid so far, so we're gonna have to.
We're gonna work on
We're gonna
that.
talk about that after the show.
I'll talk to my. you know what? I haven't been paid either, so we'll talk to somebody.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, we
we're
gotta-
waiting on those checks. So.
Let's take-
We'll talk to the great Negus.
Yeah, we'll see what we can get done.
I talk to our lawyers on that.
But yeah, Kyle, you're still doing the audio. Oh no, you know what's your day job?
I was transcribing for The Voice for a while. Right now we're between seasons.
Transcribing like you
Like I take like the interviews and like the raw reality footage and type out everything they say verbatim, basically.
Huh. And The Voice, is that one of those like fucking like singing talent shows or whatever?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that the one with like Christina Aguilera and
Yeah,
fucking the
Pharrell.
guy from
Pharrell.
Maroon 5? What's
Adam
his
Levine,
name?
yeah.
God, fucking.
I have
I
some-
like Pharrell. The rest of them are completely worthless.
Yeah, I have some stories, but I can't. Pretty sure I signed an NDA and I don't remember what it says, so I'm gonna err on the side of caution and not talk about anything that happened.
You can always edit it out
Oh yeah, that's true.
if you feel like talking about it later. So transcribe it for the
I guess
voice.
all the episodes
Maybe I'll give you the harmonizer.
Yeah.
Well, there's this time that Pharrell
just
was like,
for this section where I talk about The Voice, like
asked for a pair of Skittles, and then he wanted to make sure that they were rainbow Skittles and not tropical Skittles. And then he went and asked for a pair of left-handed golf clubs. And wanted a picture of a midget holding these balloons, holding these balloons.
I love Pharrell.
Yeah, Pharrell's great. He's my favorite coworker.
Yeah, you guys real tight.
Yeah,
You get lunch and fucking, or
Yeah.
you're at all the after parties and all that.
Yeah, when I first, I didn't go to it, but we are invited to the rap show that all the stars are at.
Oh yeah.
Where they have their own little section that no one else is allowed to look at them, but we like there's like the general area where like all the crew hangs out and drinks and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, and the contestants are there from the finale. The guy, whoever wins, I guess. I don't know. I didn't go when they had it the last season because I think I had stuff to do. But yeah.
All right. The Voice, fucking not a good show. Sorry. Don't feel bad about it, but a job's a job.
You do what you have to.
They as long as they keep paying me, they're a great show.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I work a bullshit job as well. Although yours is a lot less bullshit than mine.
Yeah.
At least you're
It's
not,
all
working
depends.
customer service. So, say The Voice. And then what else are you doing right now? What do we want?
Right.
Projects.
Right now, I'm working on mixing this album I recorded back in September. The band is there's no censorship on this show, right?
No,
No.
not at all.
Okay,
Say whatever
good.
the fuck you want.
The band I'm working with right now is a band called Autistic Chainsaw. They're
Nice.
like a ska punk kind of political band, I guess.
Autistic Chainsaw.
Yeah. They're allowed.
They got the name right,
They're allowed to call themselves that because I believe their lead singer actually has some sort of mild autism or something. So
Good for
yeah,
him.
like the music's pretty good. It's not stuff I'd normally listen to, but I've been enjoying mixing it and stuff. I wish I could have. It's been dragging out for a while just because I've been so busy working. But the past few weeks, I've finally had, because I haven't been working on The Voice, I finally had time to get to mixing that.
Okay.
Yeah, I did all the tracking for it back in September, so that gives you an idea of how long this has been in the
So
works.
were you redoing the engineering as well?
Yeah, I was did all the drums and the guitars and all the tracking and stuff, and just mixing every time I get a chance since then.
All right. Do you use the Pro Tools or Logic?
Yeah, Pro Tools.
It seems like all the guys are using Pro Tools.
It's why they call it an industry. Yeah. It's why.
An industry standard.
They don't
Yeah,
don't call it pleb tools.
Yeah, no. That's like the main one. Besides like Logic, right? Are those the two biggest ones, or is it Ableton or?
I think
They each kind of serve as different purpose. Pro Tools
Okay.
is a lot of production work
Okay.
and mixing work.
What would like DJs use more?
DJs like Ableton.
Ableton.
I think sometimes Logic. I think Logic is more for like composers, people who like use their DAW to compose.
Yeah, and then
Gotcha.
there's other DAWs like Cubase and
Yeah, I
Digital
think
Performer.
Steinberg is like second to Pro Tools. Is like they're bigger like in Europe and stuff, where
Right.
Cubase and Pro Tools are kind
Just-
of level.
It's funny because Steinberg is a German company that's owned by Yamaha.
Oh, really?
So
That's funny.
it's all going back to their otaku roots.
There you go.
So
Speaking of
What
that,
the-
let's see what we got here. It's time to take an F break. I guess we'll start from the beginning, huh?
yeah, let's go on an F run.
So can the audience at home see that?
We fucking forgot to do that. God damn it. There was some really good gay furry that you guys just missed. Next week, you'll be able to see it. So tune in for that. But, yeah, it was pretty lewd. Code Lyoko. Are you fucking kidding me? People made porn for this?
Rule 34.
Yeah, I guess so.
Nobody cares about Rule 1 through 33.
No.
It's all about.
Come on, where's the dang shit?
So, you want to just get right into this? We'll just talk about.
Well, I was feeling probably a couple more shots. That'd be
that's
better.
fair.
Did you see that Zappa Kickstarter? I was whoring around.
Yeah, I heard you actually put money in there.
Yeah.
How much did you put?
You wanna hear how much I put in?
Yeah, I do.
How much do you think?
$4.50.
Did you see my?
No, I have sources.
Oh, Brian, tell you.
Yeah.
It was probably a little more than that though, because I bought some stuff off their add-on store.
Well, so what was the money going to?
It was initially to fund to help fund a documentary that Alex Winter is behind. Alex Winter, you probably know from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He was he was not Keanu Reeves. He played not Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
and it was partially towards that, partially towards having so the family could have funding to help to preserve some of the stuff in the vault that they hadn't been able to get to. But halfway through the campaign, they're like, you know what, this movie's going to get made no matter what. We're just going to focus more on saving the vault. So all the money this Kickstarter makes is going to go to the vault. and that in turn helps the documentary because they'll have access to that archival footage for the documentary. And I think it ended up being the most successful documentary on Kickstarter.
Okay.
It made like a little over $1 million.
So what did you get for the 450?
I have it on my phone so I don't forget, because I'm not going to get this stuff for like 40 years.
Is it tax deductible?
Maybe. I'll have to look into that. So on their add-on store, they have like CDs and stuff you can buy, and the money goes towards it. So I bought Overnight Sensation on CD. I got Finer Moments on vinyl, which is a posthumous release, came out back like a few years ago. You get a download of the documentary when it comes out.
First class.
As part of the stretch goals they made, everyone gets a poncho, and it's a real one, not a Sears poncho.
Oh, I forgot. Welcome to Camarillo. You came to Camarillo without your Camarillo Brillo?
What?
You came to Camarillo without your Camarillo Brillo?
Oh, I've left it at home. I think there's a T-shirt in there, movie poster signed by Alex Winter, a Blu-ray of the documentary, the soundtrack, and the thing that made me go, oh, I gotta go the full 450 was you get 3 art prints made specifically for Kickstarter backers, one by Cal Schenkel, one by Bruce Bickford, and one by, I forget the dude's name, the guy who worked on Ren and Stimpy. They got him because I guess he was a Zappa fan, and Zappa he had a cameo on a Ren and Stimpy episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you remember the Powdered Toast Man episode where
No.
he has to save the Pope?
No.
Yeah, I didn't watch too much of that show when I was a kid. I saw maybe like a few episodes here and there, but
Yeah.
like I don't know if they replayed it that much because that was an early Nickelodeon one, right?
Yeah, like early mid-90s era. Like, we can look it up in a sec if you want. It's pretty cool. Like, Zappa plays the Pope, and Powdered Toast Man has to save the Pope from
yeah.
something. I forget exactly the
Nice.
thing, but it was probably one of the last things he did because it was like 93 or something.
Right, that's when he died.
And he got what, like pancreatic cancer or some bullshit?
It was the
Testicular?
prostate cancer.
Prostate
Yeah.
cancer. That fucking sucks.
He
He was
didn't
only
get-
what, like 50 something?
Yeah, it's
Something like
funny,
that.
for all the sex he had, he didn't get pegged enough.
Exactly. You know, he wasn't working out that prostate.
He didn't
Or
get
not the
what?
problem. He didn't get pegged enough.
He didn't use his boy pussy
He
enough.
didn't work out his boy pussy.
Oh yeah.
You got to work that boy pussy.
Yeah.
You don't want to get prostate cancer
No.
and die at 55 or whatever.
Yeah, that's why Punished Steve always works his boy
yeah,
pussy.
no. Got that boy pussy game on lock.
Yeah.
You know, I think we've said boy pussy every episode.
In that
I'm
hustle
not sure if we
tight,
have,
yo.
but you know, if we haven't, then we're doing something wrong here. So let's hope that
you
it
should see my
continues.
big black dildo I got in my house. It's pretty great.
Is that package that was the arrived the other day?
No, that's for the package.
For the
It's-
package.
It's
I don't know. You'll have to enlighten me.
for when you clean for use.
Gotcha.
If you, I don't know if you know this, but the butthole, the boy pussy is where the poop comes out.
Yeah, you got to get that.
So
Yeah, you got to keep it clean,
gotta keep it clean,
fresh.
so you can work your boy pussy.
There you
Oh,
go.
fuck that. That's free lube, man. Don't waste good lube.
According to Jim, it tastes like skin. So who cares?
What tastes like skin? Poop or
Shit. Yeah.
okay?
I don't think that's what he was implying.
That's not
Then
what he
again, I
said.
was pretty drunk. I don't think that's what he meant.
I can pull it out for you if you want.
If I remember right, he was
A
saying
recording that is.
like Rimmon, if they keep it clean, just tastes like skin. That's what I remembered. I don't remember him being saying like shit tastes like skin. That's a different.
I think he was implying that
I
there's
think-
shit
I think it
on
tastes like
the
shit.
on the rim when you're rimming, and then like that tastes like skin.
You know,
Yeah, I
I'll
don't
have to
as-
listen
I'm
to it.
not as-
I feel like
I
that's
as-
not what he was
I
implying.
think I assumed that he didn't like, because I was asking like, yo, all the diet and stuff, you have to keep it clean. Like that people like kind of prep for that sort of thing.
Right.
So like, she said, oh no, you just eat it. You go, when you do it, you do it. Doesn't matter if you clean it or not. It just tastes like skin. I'm like, okay. I thought he was talking about fecal matter.
You
I'm
know,
pretty sure that tastes like fecal
I
matter.
can't eat rice cakes like this.
we'll have to listen to it. I definitely don't remember that being implied, but you know that
Okay.
that episode was off the rails. Jim fucking dragged me under the table. That guy can hold down his shit.
Yeah.
So the fourth. God damn it! Fuck you, Steve. I haven't heard that shit since I was in fucking high school, and I had some, or maybe even middle school, was some like nerdy ass math teacher, and I was like, oh, haha, May the 4th.
I didn't find out till like college. Like, why May the 4th?
I mean, once you hear it, it makes sense. It's just like fucking retarded.
And then May 5th is Revenge of the 5th.
I believe May 5th is Cinco de Mayo, as far as I know. But
That's a fake holiday. No one cares. Speaking of Cinco de Mayo, that's probably a good segue into Trump. How you wanted to talk about
Oh my god, that tweet.
the fucking
Did you see
Taco
the
Bowl.
Taco Bowl tweet?
no.
Oh, it's so
Taco
great.
Bell tweet?
You should look it up.
Okay, yeah, go to Twitter and tweet, or go look up Donald Trump's
Donald
Twitter.
Trump Taco Bowl.
Oh, shit. Fuck yeah.
I love how he's
here it
got
is.
Bernie's back.
Look at the caption.
The best taco bowls are made in Trump Tower Grill. I love Hispanics. Excellent.
It was great.
You know, all those people in Spain who celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Because isn't Hispanic just anyone from a country that speaks Spanish?
I think that's what it's supposed to
I
be.
think so.
But I think like Latino is like specifically like Southern America or like Mexico or like that area, but like Hispanic is just any general Spanish speaking country.
The Latino thing is always strange to me because there's several Latin-based languages in Europe,
Yeah.
but the ones that are Spanish-speaking are the ones that count as Latino.
It's, yeah, whatever.
You know, like France, Italian. Are Italians Latino? They're Latin-based.
Yeah.
I mean, they fucking came up with Latin,
They did. That was them.
but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know who came up. I mean, when they started doing like the census stuff and like categorizing everything, it was at a time where like people's views and ideas on like race and ethnicity were like completely out of whack. So
Sure.
there's just a bunch of bullshit that's still there because they probably think it's harder to like change all of the categories than to, you know, deal with like people being upset about it.
You need to do that again and talk in your like crack.com voice. Oh, everything's really just fucked up, and I think that this is
Fucking
not
cracked.
cool.
What a
How
fucking-
things are really not what you think they are.
This list is split into 7 parts, so you can see all of the ads. We're fucking retarded.
Yeah, let's talk a little politics. So, are you voting for Kevin Kildee or Mike Morgan for supervisor?
Are those real candidates?
Yeah.
Steve's bullshitting you.
Okay. You know,
So we're gonna preface this whole thing on this video.
Listen, repealing Obamacare is not going to be easy. Passing a simple flat tax and abolishing the IRS is not going to be easy. But if we stand with the American people, we can do it.
Thank you for including me in the debate.
Governor Bush,
Yes, you have said illegal immigrants, quote, broke the law. What does that mean to you, and how does that inform your approach to like immigration reform? Great question. Jeb Bush is the weakest person on the stage by far. Jeb is a waste, and everybody knows it. It's so weak. It's laughable.
The fucking horns get me every time. It's fucking Godspeed shit.
Jeb is a big fat mistake.
I gotta tell you, this is just crazy, huh? This is just nuts. Okay? Jeez, oh man. Jeez, oh man.
You know, this is the standard operating procedure to disparage me. That's fine. I don't really.
Excuse me, Jeb. Jeb is a big fat mess.
okay, Governor Bush, I'd like to
I
ask
got to respond to this. The reason why I should be president is. Great question. The reason why I should be president, I feel like I have to.
Excuse me. 2 days ago, he said he would take his pants off and moon everybody.
Nasty guy.
He's a nasty guy. Jeb is a nasty guy. I want to tell you, I don't often agree with Marco, and I don't often agree with Ted. but I get along with everybody. But I say this every night, every day, every afternoon, and it's so true. Jeb is a mess. Jeb is a waste. Jeb is a big, fat mess.
Oh, poor Jeb Bush.
I've never seen anyone blown the fuck out more than in this
is
video.
more interested in funding, less interested in funding the military than he is in funding he's more interested in funding Planned Parenthood than he is in funding the military.
We need leadership, someone who has a backbone and sticks with things rather than just talks about them as though anything matters when you're talking about amendments that don't even actually are part of a bill that ever passed under President Jeb Bush.
Hey, it'll never happen.
It'll never happen. Trip's so fucking smug.
And we don't need a weak person being president of the United States, okay?
You flew in with you flew in with your 767, didn't you? Right?
Hey, I don't care. And by the way, Jeff, it'll never happen. We don't need that. Jeff is a mess. It'll never happen. And we don't need a weak person being president of the United States. Jeff is a mess.
I like Marco Rubio, and he's a smart person and a good guy. And by the way, I like Kasich's record too. He's a good governor. God bless you.
Governor Bush, I'll mention your name so that you can come in on this. And I do want to bring you into this.
Let me talk quiet. Jeff is a mess. Jeff is a waste. Jeff is a mess.
Governor Bush, we need someone who has a proven record to take our case to the American people. And I'm the guy that could do that. Peyton Manning's supporting me. And many other people that know that I would be a steady commander-in-chief.
Well, I'll tell you what. It'll never happen. I will win the election, and we will win it by a lot. We will win, and we will win, and we will win, and we will win, and we will win.
Peyton Manning's supporting me. I met him, and he's voting for me.
Well, let me say a couple of things. First of all, Jeff is a mess.
No.
Jeff is a waste.
No. You no.
Jeff is a mess.
No.
But it looked like he was looking right at me right there. Jeff is a waste.
Tonight I'm going to sleep with the best friend I have and the love of my life. Eat your heart out, Zuckerberg. I'm wearing my hoodie.
What a mess.
The worst Father's Day present I've ever gotten was from my sons who gave me a book about weight loss. I was really offended and embarrassed.
Jeb is a waste.
I love you. You're a good little moose.
Jeb is a mess.
You're a good little moose.
Jeb. God, fucking props to whoever made
Listen,
that.
repealing
that shit is
Obama-
fucking ridiculous.
Did you hear how back when Jeb was still running, he forgot to renew the domain for his website, so Donald Trump bought it and redirected it to his own website.
Yeah, I heard about that. Oh my god, that was fucking brilliant.
So, why do you hate this guy, Trump?
Why do I hate Trump? Well, call me old-fashioned, but I hate people who are fucking racist.
Well, but he's not racist. He's just memeing.
I mean, he said he loves Hispanics.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like racist
Oh,
to me.
well, I was wrong. I'm sorry I doubted him.
He's the ultimate salesman. He's packaging what the American people want.
Yeah.
And apparently the American people don't want Muslims, and they want walls. That's just me. Hey.
Well, see, Donald Trump is just Biff from Back to the Future 2. and I don't want
Fucking Bill.
and Bernie Sanders is Doc Brown, so I want Doc Brown for president.
Who's
not
Hillary?
I don't know. Fucking
Who's
what's the
let's
name
ask
of-
a real important question. Who's Ben Carson?
He's the mayor. He's the mayor.
Wilson.
Who's like,
Smoke weed every day.
Who's Marty? I guess Marty is just the voters of California or the America. I guess I don't know. Marty is just millennials in general
okay,
because they want Doc Brown as president.
Hey,
and they
hey,
hate Biff.
smoke weed every day.
Have you guys taken the wow, that's forget what I was saying, man.
That's why I'm here.
Oh my
Man, I
god!
don't know why you guys have me on. This is all you need. This is all the viewers
Next
want.
week, all the viewers, subscribers, retards that want to see what we're looking at, you'll get it. You'll get a view of the table where you'll see me take 100 shots, and a view of the TV where you get to see smoking weed every day.
Here's the thing that I kind of get slightly annoyed with
What's that?
is that there's that kind of over liberal PC reaction to the Trumpness.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Is that-
a
is
lot of
that-
baby dicks out there.
Is that helping or hurting?
Honestly, like the super PC people, like Tumblr tier of like, oh, I'm triggered. Like they're a very small minority. They don't really reflect most Democrats or people that are left leaning.
I mean, I think
it's like the whole outspoken minority thing, you know.
I think
Okay.
what Trump is saying is worth disparaging. I think he says things that are worth saying that's fucked up and it's racist. But I think there is something to be said about how like some people are just kind of like fanning the flames by doing things like blocking traffic and stuff. Like people who protest to that extent. It's like at some point it's like you're just giving like them reason to be like, oh, well, now I am going to vote for Trump because you guys block traffic, you dicks. Like,
Yeah, that's
there's
true.
something-
If you go too hard in the other way, it just ruins the cause.
It's like
because I don't think it's being too politically correct to say. I don't like political correctness, but I don't think calling someone racist when they're saying racist things is being politically correct. I think that's just being correct.
Because what comes to me, and when I see it happening, is that what I hear from every time there's a speech being streamed, and what I hear from everybody else that has sort of a straight and narrow concept, it sounds like he's just like the Jackson Pollock of campaigning, where everything is just splatter paint. It's all over the map. And it's just like
I just remembered who Jackson Pollock is.
Who's Jackson Pollock?
Jackson Pollock is a modern artist from the 50s.
He was the splatter paint guy.
The guy who did splatter paint. And everybody's like, that's not art. It's not art. You know, but
You just don't get it.
just don't get it.
Like, no, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
And I love Jackson Pollock, by the way. But anyway, the whole
My
thing.
problem with him more than him being fucking racist is like he doesn't have a policy to speak of. Like if you check his website, like there are like 5 issues on the issues page, and they're very broad, very not detailed at all. And like all the other candidates, like
Well, I think part of that is because in the circus that is known now as the Republican primary, it does not matter what your policies are.
yeah, it's
I mean,
demagoguery.
I don't speak for all Republicans, but I know that most are swayed by irrelevant topics like shit like abortion or like gay rights that like
Yeah.
literally doesn't matter. So like to win the Republican primary, it's less about like who's got the best policies for being the president and more about like shitting on everyone else and making them look bad.
like who
Because that seems, I mean, Trump's done that brilliantly.
Right.
I've never seen a campaign
They appeal
done that
to-
well in that
And
regard.
it's funny because like when I listened, I watched a lot of those Republican debates that had like 10, 12 people on them. And there's only a few people that didn't scare the living shit out of me. Trump was one of those few that didn't scare me.
Yeah, because to be honest, aside from whatever the immigration thing and the Muslim thing, he's not like a fundamentalist.
He's not a neoconservative either.
He's not a neoconservative, So I mean, like, sure, you could disagree with that. That's fine. I get that. That makes sense. But like, unironically, I would rather have fucking Trump as president than like Cruz or Rubio or fucking Ben Carson. Some of these they seem like insane people,
Like Chris Christie.
That's how it was the last primary, like with fucking Newt Gingrich and
Mitt Romney.
Mitt Romney was the flopper. He was like, I'm not crazy. That was his like whole thing. He was like, I'm not gonna do what those guys did.
Yeah, right.
But you had fucking Gingrich, the guy from Texas. What was it?
Rick
Perry. You had the
Rick
black guy who was selling his book. What was his name?
Herman Cain.
Herman Cain. Fucking. You had
Rick Santorum.
You had
Rick
what
Santorum.
was the woman? What was her name? Michelle Bachmann.
Carly Fiorina.
She was last year.
This year, yeah.
Last time.
Sarah Palin?
No, that was 2008.
Oh, it was Michelle Bachmann.
Michelle Bachmann. Yeah, you had these like people that were like completely nuts.
Yeah.
And like it was so obvious that Obama would win again. So like this year, it's kind of the same thing, and I think that's why Trump is doing so well, is because like aside from his racist stuff and like let's face it, Americans and humans, it's a human thing. Humans are racist.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not very far removed from when we were in tribes and people that look different we didn't like. We're all racist. Like, get over it, That's how it is. We're gonna need a lot more education before racism is gonna go away. It's gonna be there for a while. So like, aside from the racism thing, which isn't good, but like I'd rather have that than like fucking like crazy Christian like ridiculous bullshit. Like Ted Cruz is like trying to create the Christian caliphate. It's ridiculous.
Oh God. I mean,
I think the fact that Trump is the only one left is. I think that's more of a testament to how bad the Republican Party has gotten. More
exactly. I agree.
Yeah. It also, here's the other thing, is it also leaves the Democrats to still be complacent because they know they can appeal to everybody else.
Yeah.
But they don't have to follow through on anything because they're not the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like, every time I hear like a Democrat, I still roll my eyes because I don't think it's going to get done. With the exception of Bernie, because he wasn't a Democrat.
Yeah, no,
He's the only one who he's like, and if he doesn't always succeed in Congress because his ideas may make too much sense to everybody else's like constituents. But like the whole idea that he's still fighting the good fight, or
yeah, I like that he hasn't dropped out of the race. I think that was the right call because
it's kind of bullshit. I kind of feel bad for Republicans who voted for someone else and now like everyone's dropped out except Trump. It's like the people who haven't voted yet, it's like they don't have a choice anymore. Well,
I mean, aside from Kasich, there was no real good candidate.
Yeah, Kasich was the only one that kind of makes sense.
I think Kasich should have stuck in the race just on principle. He was never going to win, but he should have.
I don't know if he has the funding or money to really support a campaign at this point.
I thought the whole idea was that they were going to wait for the open convention. By the way, that convention could still be open.
Technically, yes, but it would be very unlikely that would happen.
It's going to see because he's been so. It's funny because you could tell Trump is not.
Well, isn't California winner take all?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure California is winner take all.
Okay.
And
I hope we're not.
And because Trump has a sizable lead, he's gonna win it. So if he wins California, I think he has the ballots needed. Delegates. Sorry.
Like I said, this is not some sort of constitutional thing. This is just their party line.
I know, but according to the party rules, I'm pretty sure California is closed. Let me look that up.
That's what's interesting. I heard a while ago, I don't know if it's true, but I heard a while ago that Mitch McConnell said, oh yeah, we're not going to let Donald Trump through even if he wins the popular vote, which is, typical Mitch McConnell being an asshat, but that's like the one time I would welcome that. So I don't know what they're going to, because like you said, the primaries aren't mandated by the Constitution, so I think they can technically do whatever they want to nominate. Because you're just nominating like your party's candidate. You're not voting for president.
Like that whole idea that the system is rigged goes as far in this case as the party and what they want. So you can get upset that Bernie didn't get what he wanted, but he also decided that he also was smart enough. He was smart enough to get more play because it was
California's primary is a winner-take-all system.
Okay.
Oh shit.
So I think that's why they dropped out, because
Is that just
California has so many delegates.
Is that just for Republicans or for both?
I don't know if it is for Democrats. I haven't looked that up because it became obvious right away that Hillary would win, so I didn't really look into it. But early on, it was unclear if Trump would pull ahead this far. Like the polling showed that, but
those delegates are the ones that are still going to decide what's going to go down. And if that becomes a thing, if Paul Ryan decides that he's going to go and change things up, that could happen. And that'll be awesome TV.
You know, I honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they pulled some like ridiculous bullshit.
Yeah.
Like if they know they're going to lose anyway, then why not make a couple bucks off some like TV drama, you know?
Because the established Republicans like in office hate him. Like,
which is kind of what I like.
They're completely at odds with like their voter base, which is going to be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, I think both parties are kind of falling apart at the seams because of this. Like I've read an article that a bunch of Republicans are now dropping out of the Republican Party and registering as libertarian because they just hate the fact that they have to vote for Trump now. And, you know, Democrats, you know, all of these Bernie supporters who, if Bernie doesn't win, which I hope he does, but he probably won't at this point.
He has no chance.
Like,
I'm personally of the more Metal Gear Solid style political philosophy that like democracy is just it's a fun TV thing for the people.
Yeah.
But we don't have any say at all.
Yeah, right.
Hillary's already been decided as the next president probably years ago. So it doesn't matter how we vote.
I mean, the odds aren't like he would have to win 66% of the vote, which is unlikely. But even if that if that doesn't happen, which it probably won't happen, like there's going to be a lot.
Is that how much he needs to get to make Hillary not have the requirement?
He needs.
That's the number, right?
I think he's
already mathematically eliminated from the number that you need to be like uncontested,
is
right?
he? I don't know the exact numbers.
I mean, he's been blown the fuck out so many times. It's bad.
I mean, either way,
he wins in all the states that don't have big, major populated cities. Anything that's more urban, it'll go to Hillary. Everything that's been inner Midwest,
which I don't get.
Yeah,
it's like Bernie is more like socialist, which would seemingly, you know, trying to raise up these poor areas.
It's funny because he's reaching out to certain Republicans that just hate Hillary.
Yeah.
And certain people that just don't trust her. I know I have a friend who's who calls himself a Republican. He's more non-party line, but he'll associate himself with more conservative thinking.
Okay.
Can't stand Hillary no matter what,
sure.
Anything. And he's like, hey man, Bernie, baby, it's all about Bernie. He's just like, the devil you know is better than the one that you don't sort of concept. So, you know.
I mean, I think if Bernie doesn't win, I think there's going to be a lot of his supporters who are going to be frustrated with the Democratic, especially like the reason why he didn't win, because there's been a lot of obvious like establishment Democrats tampering with like the process and stuff. So I think there's going to be a lot of
the Democratic primary has been a complete joke.
I think there's going to be you're going to see a lot of that entire wing of the Democratic Party who are supporting Bernie. I think might go make their own left of the Democratic Party, like the Social Democrats or the Democratic Socialist Party or whatever.
You know, if that happens, that would be hilarious. Because think about this: the Bernie people say they want Bernie to run as a third party,
right?
Fracturing the Democrats. Trump 2016, baby.
Trump wants, you know, he was tweeting on that tweet for
He's
Bernie.
supporting Bernie now. That's what he wants.
He's supporting Bernie running as a third party to split the Democratic vote.
No, that'd be perfect.
That's how Roosevelt got elected.
That's how Clinton got elected.
Lincoln got elected too. Or no, Lincoln was the third party at the time.
It's true.
I was he? I thought the Republican Party was like an established party.
No, it was founded by Lincoln.
Was it?
Yeah.
The Republicans the Republican Party was originally a left-leaning party.
I mean, I know that. I just didn't know. I thought it was earlier than Lincoln.
It was before then. It was
back in the day. The South always Democrat.
Right.
Yeah.
And it changed with
before
with
Republicans.
the FDR.
Before Republicans, it was Democrats and the Whig Party, and the Whig Whig Party kind of fell apart because they couldn't agree on a position regarding slavery, and that's where the Republican Party came in. A lot of the early Republicans were ex-Whigs who were anti-slavery. So
Gotcha.
that's how the Republicans became a thing.
Huh.
Because the Democrats were originally the right-leaning, sort of Jeffersonian. It's just very funny because Jefferson was like the libertarian type, where he's like, I want this, I want all these certain things.
His party was the Democratic Republicans, who then, when the Federalists, it was the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans, and then when Jackson became president, I think, is when the Federalists kind of lost relevancy and the Democratic Republicans split off into the Whigs and Democrats as we know them today.
Yeah. And the Democrats were always sort of urban, no, they're more rural, outside, leave me alone, limited government style. And then around the Depression, they switched sides.
Yep. I think Kennedy was the first real liberal Democrat, aside from FDR. I mean, after FDR, you had Truman, who was in there at the end. I don't really know much about the Truman presidency. And then you had Eisenhower, who military guy.
Yeah.
It was, ironically enough, his taxes were the highest they've ever been in this country. It was 90% tax.
Yeah, which it should be now.
Yeah.
Probably higher.
You just
why
take
does
all of our
anyone
money.
need to make that much money? What are you doing with that much money?
Yeah.
You don't need that much. You can't even do anything with that much money.
Yeah. Although I will say right now, it's kind of tough to try to scrap up a living and then give 2,000 of it away.
Well, it's not giving it away. It's reinvesting it. And stuff,
Not
things
right
like
now.
education and
Not right. I mean, to a degree, but not right now. I don't really feel that necessarily coming back to me. You know what I mean?
Sorry, what were you trying to say?
The money being spent back in the
It's
day.
not being invested in the people.
Yeah.
As much as it was.
I totally would single payer healthcare. You bet. Here's my taxes. Here's some more.
I'm just talking about the rich people taxes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, in Eisenhower, I think it was 90% for everyone. Maybe not everyone, but maybe
I'm not sure what it was for everyone. I just know
it was higher in general.
For
it was for everyone. It was the highest it's been
for inflation and income of the middle class. It's really badly skewed.
Yeah,
they haven't matched up at all. The gap between the rich and the poor has gotten much worse in the last 60, maybe 50 years.
Do you guys follow Robert Reich on Facebook at all?
No, I just watch what you post.
He used to be in Bill Clinton's cabinet. He was the Secretary of Labor, and he has a lot of interesting ideas. He has a documentary on Amazon Prime. I forget what it was called. It was about income inequality, and you've probably seen the Kickstarter I've shared for a follow-up documentary to that. But yeah, he's really interesting. He's a really smart guy. He's one of Bernie's earliest endorsers, which is funny, seeing as he has a long history with the Clintons.
Yeah, I saw this really good documentary called The 97%.
Okay.
It's about British banks printing money and screwing over everyone.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen that, I would check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm to wrap up this political bullshit. I 100% Metal Gear Solid style. It's a complete farce. There is no democracy. There never has been. There never will be. The average human's too retarded and won't make a difference.
All right.
As so determined by them. I mean, I don't know how stupid the average person is, but
it could be interesting. I've had this political quiz online. I've been coercing all my friends into taking just for fun to see which political candidate they line up with the most. If you guys want to check it out,
I've heard about that.
Have you taken the I Side With quiz? It's I Side With.
I haven't taken any of the quizzes. I've heard about it being a thing. Sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, do you want to check it out?
Sure. After the song.
Yeah.
And several more shots.
Yeah, it could be fun to read out all the questions, discuss those. It's interesting because you can take them for a bunch of different countries, and they'll show you which party you line up with too, as well as the candidates. And I've taken the ones in the quizzes from Canada and the UK, and it's interesting seeing all normal questions that I can relate to, and then you'll get a question that's whoa, that's weird. One of them in Canada was, should Quebec be its own country? It's that's a thing. I didn't know that was on the table over there.
Ted Cruz says no.
One of them was should we elect members of the Senate. It was like, yeah, you don't do that already. I think there are like wings of Congress over there that aren't even elected. They're just in there.
Okay.
Damn. I really hope that's not the case.
I know in the UK that's the case. There's a House of Commons and the House of Lords, and one of them is elected by the people, but the other one is like, I forget who it is, like clergymen and like nobility, and like people have just inherited the position, and
Wow.
it's weird.
Yeah. For the Quebec thing, or Quebec, or whatever you want to fucking pronounce it, you fucking frogs.
Quebec.
Quebec.
Just go with Ephraim. Ephraim says Quebec.
Quebec.
You're not going to go with Godspeed?
Nah. Honestly, French Canadians are kind of annoying. But I think they probably should have their own country. I'm more of in line with big countries or worse. I think city-state is ideal.
Yes, I agree.
Like, I don't think nations can ever represent all of their people.
There was a great TED Talk about that.
I'm sure there was.
It was a really good, yeah.
This is not, obscure opinion, but
right.
They got a TED Talk for everything.
They probably do.
It's like a Rule 34 for TED Talks.
They even have fucking Moot talking about anonymity on the internet at TED. It was actually pretty cool, but Moot he abandoned us, so I don't know how I feel about him. But anyway,
but
the city-states.
Yes.
Maybe even lower than that, because through the first million, 100,000, I forget the exact number, however many of years that we've been Homo sapiens, there's never been a city. It's been a small community where you knew everyone.
Right.
So I think a lot of problems in society stem from that, dealing with so many strangers is not natural, and we're not, capable of handling that. So I think
relating to everybody's problems at the same time.
Just strangers is the main thing. Like, I think a big thing connecting us is like, I'm not going to rob that person because I know them, like it's like a built-in, deterrent, like you wouldn't fuck over the people you all know and are friends with. But like when you have this group of like, I don't know what the hell that is, there's like less of a deterrent, like, because like there's less guilt in doing it.
Interesting.
So
it's funny you mentioned that, because I was just listening to a program that I like that was talking about the Sandusky scandal.
Okay.
The Penn State. The point was being that, like, you were talking about cities, like he's talking about urban areas, and how there's all these colleges will support these scandalous these disgraced coaches like Joe Pa. Like, oh, he didn't know. Well, yeah, he does. He's talking about these.
Pretty sure he knew.
Pretty much talking about all these control freaks that find out that they knew, or that they don't tell me they didn't know, and they have their finger on the pulse of the entire team. Yeah, and often they're also the most influential people in the town, because these are also very small town schools.
Yeah, what's their industry? Fucking the college football program.
Yeah.
That brings the most money to the whole town.
Yeah,
over anything.
Right. So
if that goes the wayside, then fucking economic disaster for the town.
And the suggestion was made that cities are safer than the towns in those areas, based on the idea that there's just more strangers, more people, potentially more cameras, cars. So you're able to be helped faster than you are to be hurt faster. Essentially. Well, it's like assuming that, like, you get stuck in the middle of the road. You're stuck in a town and everybody's closed, and your tire's shot.
That I agree with that. And what I would counter with is what I was saying is maybe like even the size of a small town is bigger than what we're used to handling. I'm pretty much contradicting myself by saying city-states are better than nations, even though I say that like even small towns might be bigger than what humans are developed.
That's
for.
where I was sort of confused at the part.
That makes sense. But I think
you're saying
there's an inherent problem in that kind of large social group that maybe you're right. Maybe it's better that we have a larger governing system that can respond quickly to.
Yeah, what the thing about city-states, and this is what the TED guy was saying, is that mayors themselves have a better not influence, but they're not living away from their constituents. They're in the city they're presiding over, and so their problems are, their problems are slightly more tangible to solve,
right,
and easier to take care of down the road. So like the city of Los Angeles can take care of, like even the state of California, which has to handle like
50 million people.
15 million people. They're already having trouble with the minimum wage issue, or people in the inner cities have to handle probably need to have $15. But there's smaller companies that are not in major cities cannot afford the $15 minimum wage.
Right.
So but it's mandatory for the entire state, so it doesn't make sense. And it's and that now cities have mandated their own thing, so maybe that's different.
Well, I mean, it's
that's
the whole wage gap.
That's just an example. I don't want to get into that right now.
The amount of money people make in America is plenty to cover $15 for every single person.
Yeah.
So it's the problem is not screwing over small businesses. It's Coca-Cola, Monsanto, and all them actually paying their fair share.
No, I understand.
As
that.
opposed to like offshore bank accounts bullshit. Where like we own all the lawyers, so they wrote all the laws so that we don't have to pay taxes because that's how it works.
Right.
And that's how it will probably always be until we run out of clean air and the rich people flee Earth and then we all die. That's my official prediction.
Have you guys seen The Big Short?
No.
I saw it twice.
Yeah, that movie was really good. I thought it was really funny how, like, every time they found out they were going to make more money, like, the more money they found out they were going to make, the more pissed off they got.
I know.
It's like, wait, like, why are the fucking bankers running shit like this? Like, this should be illegal. And it is every time they're like, oh, dude, it's worse than we thought. We're going to make so much money. It's like, oh, no. Oh, fuck, we're going to make so much money. That's awful.
Well, I think, like, the Steve Carell character and the Brad Pitt character knew the levity of what they were doing.
Yeah. Or, like, with they started dancing, and Brad Pitt was like, guys, stop dancing. Like, you guys just bet against the whole nation's economy.
Yeah. I don't know if you basically in the movies.
No, I don't think I'll see it.
It's not. It's written by, like, Adam McKay, who was, like, Talladega Nights. He was actually a comedy writer, a lot of Will Ferrell movies. But the whole idea was that it's all about the whole subprime mortgage loan that caused the housing market crash.
I know what it's supposed to be about.
Okay, yeah, it's a little bit.
I just don't watch movies very often.
It's a little bit on.
That's why I didn't see it.
It's a little bit scatterbrained as a movie. But
it's got Christian Bale, right?
It's got Christian Bale.
If I was gonna see it, I would see it for him.
He plays the dude on the spectrum.
He might be on the spectrum, so I don't know. Just saying. But
yeah. So anyway, I
think a lot of the bullshit, of today can definitely be traced back to the 80s, and honestly, the 60s through the 80s is when things started to be set in motion. So a lot of the problem that I see is that the rise of population and more voters means that you're gonna naturally have less informed people, and then also coincided with like more like Brave New World style like distractions.
Yeah.
So people don't actually monitor and make sure that their governing factors are doing the right thing. Like, people don't care about that because they're too busy either being poor or they're too busy on their iPhones. They're too busy on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like
or just trying to get by on their own time, just on their own.
I mean, when you're poor, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's much harder for people to actually be a watchdog for their own government. Like they literally just either don't have the time because there's less middle class people than there used to be, or they don't care. Humans would rather do the convenient thing. That's easily reflected in the fucking technology we have, But anyway, so for the last topic, the Beatles.
I hate them.
I'll let you guys handle this. I'll put on the background.
All right.
I mean, I'll chime in.
I do want your opinion on some of this stuff because
feel free to ask me. I just know that you guys have much stronger opinions about certain things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna provide the background. I'm gonna put on my favorite Beatles tracks.
You got it. And I think I'm gonna have Kyle ask the questions here because I think he's pretty good at putting on these.
I'll leave that to you guys.
Yeah. So I hear you only listen to the Beatles in mono. Like, what's that about?
That's false. I listen to the Beatles whenever records came to me.
Yeah. That was a joke.
I know.
The people at home might not know.
What's your favorite album?
My favorite Beatles album? Depends on a lot of stuff.
Give me your top 3.
Top 3.
There's only 10, so.
There's 13, but I think Abbey Road is really good. I like Abbey Road.
Okay.
Revolver is a personal favorite of mine.
This is just your favorite. You don't have to say which one you think are the best. Just your favorites.
You want my favorites?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Abbey Road, Revolver. I'll say the White Album.
Okay.
What are yours?
Hold on. Did you say your favorite 2 were Revolver and the White Album?
And Abbey Road.
Well, looks like we agree on our top 3.
Yeah.
What happened to what happened to Rubber Soul for you?
Rubber Soul is, for me, that's the transition album where they start to get good.
Okay.
I like it, but like Revolver, the White Album, and Abbey Road are clearly more polished and have better songwriting.
Don't get me wrong. Revolver is my all-time favorite, so I'm not like disagreeing with any of that.
I'll go with the White Album personally.
Oh, you changed the White Album? Okay. Here's the thing. I'm going to push back on the White Album just a little bit.
My biggest issue is that it's not like a band album. It's like a collection of their solo material.
Yeah,
and not all of it is.
But I think that's what made the Beatles so good. Is that they always had this dynamic of like different songwriting groups like competing against each other. It was like a competition.
Yeah.
So and the White Album that like is so apparent because it's so. Like, you've got fucking Revolver 9 and you got Ringo track on, like, the same album. Like, it's just so different.
Yeah.
Like, maybe this is a me thing, but I like the White Album because it feels like it's not trying to be good, but it is anyway.
Yeah, that's also true.
That's the vibe I get because, it was at a time where they were kind of fighting and they were like fucking whatever. Like, what, you wrote a song, fuck it, put it on the album, like... They weren't like necessarily like deliberating over every single thing like they were on Sgt. Pepper or Revolver. Like it was more like, okay, we're stuck in a rut. What can we spit out? And it's fun to hear that, and it still ends up being good in my opinion. And
my favorite Beatles track, aside, my top 2, I'd probably say number 1 is Strawberry Fields, and number 2 is Happiness is a Warm Gun. And that's on the White Album. Strawberry is not on an album, of course.
No.
Well, I mean, it's on the Magical Mystery Tour, but that's like whatever, a movie soundtrack.
It was a single. Yeah, it's up there for me.
So, those are my top 2. And, Happiness is... I basically like most of John Lennon's stuff over everyone else. I have some Paul songs I really like and a couple of George songs, but honestly, I think John was a much better songwriter.
I'm going to go with... pound for pound, and the problem is there's a lot of more quality over quantity with George Harrison. I tend to lean towards his songs almost every time.
Yeah.
I'm just not very spiritual, so I don't really care about George too much. He was way too spiritual for me.
You have to be.
Everything after like 65 is like super spiritual. He was like fucking totally into that, Buddhist stuff.
Hinduism.
Yeah, sorry, not Buddhist. Hinduism. That's the official religion of India.
I don't think that means much, though.
What?
I don't think it means. I don't think it matters all that much.
For me, I can't relate to the lyrics.
It's more upfront on some songs than others. Like, there are songs like "Here Comes the Sun" where it's there, but it's kind of subdued. It's a bit more.
For me, they were always all his songs, even going back to like "Don't Bother Me," with the Beatles. Like, they always had this sort of darkness to it, like this kind of lonerism that I could always relate to. Even when the spiritual stuff comes in, there's always some sort of like there was a little bit of an edge to it that even John didn't have sometimes.
I mean, I don't know if I agree with that.
Like,
I get what you're saying.
Taxman.
I do like Taxman a lot.
Yeah, While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Long, Long, Long is one of my favorite George songs. That's on the White Album. Yeah. And it's just like, you could barely hear that song on the record. It's so fucking quiet. What else? I Me Mine.
That one's all right. That one's a bit too whiny for me.
Only a Northern Song.
Yeah, Only Northern.
I think it's one of my favorites.
It's All Too Much.
It's All Too Much. I like that one.
There's a lot of hidden gems with George.
He has some stuff on Help that's really good. I think Help is probably the best pre-Rubber Soul era.
I'd agree.
Album.
Although, yeah, there's certain albums I kind of like just for the spirit of it.
Honestly, I think they're all about equal until Rubber Soul.
Help is sort of Help is, if Rubber Soul is the pre-transition, Help is like the pre-transition. There's stuff in there you can see where they're going with it.
Help has more polish, I think, than the other, because like of their first four.
I mean, honestly, they were like the fucking Backstreet Boys until Rubber Soul, in my opinion.
I don't agree with that comparison. I hear people say, oh, they were a boy band, but I don't think that's a valid comparison, because like the whole boy band thing was following them, like not like they were different than that, you know, like they had a bit more integrity, I think. Even
they did have more integrity. That's true. But like honestly, there's not much substance to the music of the early days.
I enjoy their early albums.
They're just, you know,
but there wasn't in terms of the spectrum. There wasn't the only thing that had any substance to it was folk music. So you'd have
there was plenty of music that had a bunch of substance to it at the time.
In rock music?
Not rock music, maybe, but in music in general.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Folk music had it, jazz had it, but they weren't playing folk or jazz until 1965.
Yeah.
And they were meeting Dylan and everything. That whole American trip was a lot about that.
Yeah.
So like the idea of it not being substance, but like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me too much because they didn't really have anything to say until that point.
Well, I mean, yes, they didn't have anything to say until that point, so that's why I wouldn't consider it seriously. Like, I don't care about it because it was, fluffy. And while it may have been justifiably fluffy, it still is fluffy. Like, just because it was par for the course doesn't mean it's good or acceptable.
I would still consider it good and acceptable because the songs themselves, while not lyrically substance-based, there were some interesting things they were doing not a lot of people were doing at the time. You could look at the songs, like just compare the songs, compare their counterpoints on the charts, and only Motown really kind of competes with it.
And they were totally, like, very obviously inspired by all that. Like,
right.
Like, it has a lot of it has a very, I think even like down to the production, like George Martin like produced them in such a way to compete with like the Motown sound.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It just the early stuff.
If it doesn't click, it doesn't click. But
like, it's pop music, but I think it's good pop music.
I wouldn't call it.
I would say their later stuff is good pop music.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call their early stuff good pop music. It's more like fun pop music than good pop music.
What's the difference? I mean, is that really?
I mean, that's what pop is.
Pop is fun by its nature.
Pop is meant to be relatable to everyone.
And it wasn't relatable to everybody.
It was. I just say.
So how's it? So
I would say.
Would you consider that good pop based on the rules you just gave it?
What I'm trying to say is that the earlier stuff, what I mean by fun, is that it's like catchy and danceable too, but there's not really anything to it. Whereas like the later stuff is still relatable, but it's not just catchy and dancey. There's actually some substance to it.
Okay.
I think they had substantive stuff. Like, I think Yesterday is...
Yeah, I mean, there's of course exceptions.
Yeah.
There are plenty of good songs from the early period. But I'm just saying, in general, like, those albums are, they feel like mostly filler.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's some good songs.
Like, there are some cover songs, too, that they play.
Yeah,
a lot
like,
of cover tunes. So
that's what I was saying earlier. Because, like, of their first 4 albums, 3 of them were, like, half covers. The only one that was out from those first 4, the only one that was complete all originals was Hard Day's Night, and I like Hard Day's Night.
Was it Matchbox on there?
No, that was on that was an EP cut. That was
okay.
Yeah, unless it was on the American version. I don't know if you heard the Capitol version.
You can debate that one later.
But what?
Nothing. Are you an American? Do you prefer American or British releases?
I've only heard the British. I mean, from an objective standpoint, those are the albums to me. Like, that's what they intended the albums to be. Because the only difference is track listing. Like, what reason, for the most part, what reason would I have to like go into the Capitol versions? I probably will at some point, just to explore that, to see if it makes a difference. I know my dad is actually a fan of the Capitol version of Rubber Soul.
I can't stand that version.
I mean,
it needs to start with Drive My Car. If it doesn't do that, it's just not right.
But regardless of preference, like the Capitol version of Rubber Soul has historic value because it's the version of the album Brian Wilson heard when he was inspired to make Pet Sounds. Because what Capitol did was they cut out 4 songs and they added 2 from Help to give it a folk kind of vibe to capitalize on like folk rock, which was starting to rise.
Yeah.
And it gave it a theme more so than the UK version. And that's what Brian Wilson liked about it, is like he liked that there was a theme to it, and it was all, he described it as all killer, no filler, and that's what he wanted Pet Sounds to be.
But didn't the British one was all killer, no filler?
What?
Really?
I mean, he didn't hear the British version though. That's the thing, because he only they wouldn't have known about it. Because for me, like the UK version of that album is like default, because that's the version they realized and made. But you know, I'll probably go into the US versions just to check them out, because I know there are some alternate mixes on some of those that might be interesting. But
honestly, I don't think there's a single Beatles album that's all killer, no filler. I'd say the closest would be Abbey Road, but even still.
That's an interesting Revolver was fun.
Dr. Robert, this track here, Got to Get You Into My Life, I don't really care about.
I like Got to Get You Into My Life.
Yellow Submarine is obviously retarded.
I can't nostalgically remove myself from that song because that was the first song I ever heard.
Yeah. I don't necessarily see that.
I think Revolver is one of the more consistent albums, maybe the most consistent.
Sure.
Aside from Abbey Road and maybe Sgt. Pepper's, which are more cohesive.
Revolver, you would definitely want to go with the UK version, because the US version is it's just the same album missing 2 tracks.
Right.
Which 2 did they cut out?
They cut out.
I forget.
Dr. Robert, I think, was one of them.
I'm Only Sleeping.
Yeah, that song I don't really care about.
It's a cool song. It's got some funk to it.
They cut out I'm Only Sleeping. I remember that because
that's one of my favorite tracks on the album.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd say 10 out of the 14 tracks on this one are really good.
Yeah. I mean, again, the White Album has a lot of filler in it too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It has some of my favorite material, but it's so long that there's just a bunch of bullshit on there.
I think Rubber Soul is pretty consistent for the most part.
I'd agree.
I mean, I'd personally...
While its highs are not as high as some of the other albums, it is very consistent.
Yeah.
I know it's probably cliche to say Sgt. Pepper's is a good, like, continuous, but I think it is. I think Sgt. Pepper's
I will say it has
cool.
got the biggest transition. I will say it's got the
biggest leap in
one of the worst transitions in the Beatles, in like where you get fucking
George's track to When I'm 64.
Yeah, you get Within You Without You.
Within You Without You, yeah.
Which is like the biggest, one of the more deeper songs that the Beatles ever wrote, generally speaking, about like how people are just like kind of only like pawns in the game, when it's just that people aren't really sort of living false narratives and all that sort of thing. And then you get like fucking When I'm 64, clarinets kind of
yeah, no.
Just like
if that song didn't exist, then it would be the most consistent Beatles album, all killer, no filler. But like that is just like a complete.
Or if it was a B-side or something.
Yeah, they should have just not put it on. I haven't researched into it, but I'm pretty sure it was a thing where like Paul and John were like, we're each having this many songs on the album, and that's that.
I think early, if I get my book out, I think 64 was one of the first recorded.
I think it was the second song Paul wrote ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, it was one of the first that was like tracked for Pepper.
For Pepper, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is true, if it's just some meme, but I definitely have heard that during that album, Paul was kind of like a dictator. And
no, he was more of a
like
creation.
A complete baby dick faggot.
He was the Brian Wilson of that album.
Yeah.
He was
for the most part, 67 was like his year of like dominance. Or like...
It's like everyone was kind of over the Beatles except for Paul. He was like, come on, guys.
Well, he was also the one that heard Pet Sounds, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he He was like, oh, fuck these guys. We're going to fucking kick their ass.
Pet Sounds is an amazing record. But I
don't particularly care for it.
Oh, missing out, man.
Pet Sounds is, I think...
I don't think I'm missing out. I just don't think it's that good.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's not bad. I think it's a good record. I just don't see the hype.
Okay. It grew on me, by the way. It wasn't like, it's amazing. It grew very, very long periods of time.
That's an album that, like, that's Paul McCartney's favorite album. Like, he bought a copy for each of his kids and was like, you have to listen to this.
5 times a day. I think
you know what, I don't hate it, but one album I don't care for is Let It Be, personally.
I agree. I like some songs on it.
The songs are great, but I'm of the camp that doesn't care for Phil Spector's production on it.
Yeah, not a fan. I liked a lot of the songs in the Naked's version.
Yeah.
Is he in jail?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I hear he threatened the Ramones at gunpoint.
The Ramones?
Yeah, he was working with the Ramones.
When?
Fuck the Ramones.
Like the 70s or something.
He should have killed him.
He should have.
Fucking sucked.
He probably should have.
Because, like, the Ramones were huge fans of his. That, like, his kind of records was the kind of stuff they grew up on. And, like, that's not even a joke. The Ramones were, like, legit, like, the type of Beatles the Ramones
legit
liked.
suck balls at, like, music.
No, the type of Beatles the Ramones liked was, like, early.
No,
like,
I know.
Like,
I'm just thinking of, like, songs like Going to the Chapel and Going to Get
Imagine that with, like,
Married.
heavy guitars and, like, a guy screaming it. That's the Ramones.
Have you guys heard Rock and Roll Beach and Rock and Roll High School? And how they're literally the same song.
Dude, here's a funny Ramones story. My dad had an
They
extra
got cancer and died, and I laughed. Fuck the Ramones.
My dad had an extra copy of their one album, like the big one with
the one album
with the hit on it.
You only need one.
Yeah.
They fucking sound the goddamn same.
The one with Blitzkrieg Bop on it. It was the one album you need. And so I put it on and listened to it. I'm like, oh, whatever. I like some songs, but it's whatever. I flipped it over, played side B, and I swear to God, I thought I had played side A by mistake. I had to stop the record and look at it and be like, no, that's the right side.
Yeah, that's the right side.
And when it got towards the end, like, the songs were so short and so similar that I thought they were doing like a prog rock kind of medley of different, but no, they were just separate individual songs that were just meant to be conceived as like their own song. Like, I was like, wow.
That whole New York punk scene, that's what like had to be the big breakthrough.
I mean, honestly, I think the post-punk scene was more influenced by art, so I think the punk scene was just a bunch of bullshit.
Sure.
I don't think it really helped anything. It only helped other stupid pop music. Like, it helped go on to event, like, you know, later on, post-hardcore, like fucking...
Swans.
Well, no, Swans, that's more the art scene.
Oh.
Those guys were big into, just art in general.
Sure.
And, like, Glenn Branca, I think is his name.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's fucking great,
Yeah, there's like punk elements in a lot of that stuff.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Glenn Branca wasn't a fan of the Ramones.
I'm not talking about punk like in a music, but I'm talking about punk as a culture. Like
I don't know.
DIY, not really in the system, not playing their game, that kind of vibe.
I think that's not from punk. That's from something else that's already existed for a long time.
Yeah, but it takes various forms, and punk was one of them. Same thing
I don't know about that.
Same thing with the Velvet Underground. Same thing with.
I don't know about that.
Because punk came out of a time when prog rock was like at the top of its game.
Well,
Like
it was a reaction. It's part of the reactionary swing.
Because I think the Ramones were not as incendiary towards that kind of music as people think. I think they just, because I saw an interview with Johnny Ramone, I think, and he was like, he was talking about how they would listen to Jimi Hendrix and he'd be like, this is great. Like, I love listening to this, but I don't feel like I could ever be this good, but I still want to make music. And, there's something, like, you laugh, but like, there's something to be, I think there's value in like music like that's more raw and doesn't have to be as articulate and.
I would say yes,
Yeah,
but you
yes,
need to
but
go
not the-
harder than they went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't be that vanilla. Like if you don't have the chops and can't get them, that's fine. Not everyone is going to be talented enough to play really well.
And that's
But
why,
you can make it up with something else. But you can't do it like the Ramones
and
did.
that's why I like the Clash, because the Clash had that attitude, but they used what little they had to like the maximum of their abilities.
Yeah, the Clash is definitely a lot better.
Like if you listen to like their bass player, like it's like he does some really cool stuff, and like I heard that he got a lot of his influence from reggae and stuff because that was the only music he had that he could hear the bass, so he could
Right.
listen to it and play along to it. So there's a lot of like reggae influence in the Clash. It's just really interesting that you don't hear in the Sex
The
Pistols.
Police
or-
and Thieves in the Street is a cover, I
Yeah.
think, of a reggae song.
Yeah, no, back to my point though. I think punk has a lot to do with like the fucking retarded pop punk movement is what I meant to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Which is just, fucking completely bullshit.
Yeah.
Literally
Honestly,
100% bullshit.
Yeah, 'cause I was just
While
thinking,
like the Ramones punk may have been 90% bullshit, they at least were 100%
Well,
bullshit.
they were part of a scene that was a little bit more, had other, like I think about that CBGB's scene that they came out of. You had like Blondie, you had the Talking Heads.
I
There's
feel
like
like
a Patti
of that
Smith.
scene, the Talking Heads are really the only people I care that much about.
Sure. I'm just saying, like, these are the people that are also there, but they had a little bit more.
They were at least better than Ramones.
Yes. Yes, they were.
I like a lot of like later bands that were influenced by punk, but their vocabulary, like they listened to other music too, so it's not just punk. Like
Sure.
like a lot of the grunge stuff, I think is pretty cool.
I just feel like punk was this scene that like didn't really influence that much, but except for like the people that didn't matter. Like the ideas behind punk have existed since the
Sure.
early jazz days. Behind like the
Yeah.
anti-establishment, like that stuff's existed for so
Yeah.
long. Like punk didn't innovate that.
No,
I feel
but-
like what they innovated more was like less musicality, which I don't think is a good thing necessarily.
No, but there was an element of a. It's not until like there was a serious DIY movement within the like late '80s through the '90s that really flourished over like that kind of concept of like doing it yourself.
I think that's more a technology thing, not a music thing.
But it's part
There's
of it.
always been DIY people. They just never had the means until the technology got cheaper.
There's also a different filter involved too.
There was also an anti-establishment also, I think, meant anti-record label, because like a lot or anti-music industry in general, because like a lot of people before them had those ideas and they were anti-establishment, but they didn't have the power or the means to break away from the established record industry. Like before punk, you couldn't succeed without a record label to speak of. Like I think punk kind of started that whole like start your own thing, like do it without fucking like signing a deal
Yeah.
with Sony or something.
Like, there's
I don't know if that's
there's even
true, but if that is, then I'll give them credit for that.
Like this
That
is
is true.
This is sort of a far-fetched statement, but there's even like there's you hear the story of like NWA and them starting their own label with that kind of DIY quality. There's like, oh, that feels that there's sort of an aggressive sort of punk attitude towards that. It's not even fuck you, James.
To be honest, Ruthless Records was funded by a drug dealer teamed up with Slimebag. I don't know how much I really trust in the story of NWA to actually be accurate.
Just the ideology and the kind of mythology behind it.
I mean, they weren't the very first. I know, like the Who, like
Oh, no,
like
yeah,
their
they-
managers established their own record label and stuff. But
They
like, I
were the
think
first persons to try to do that, and they kind of them and the Beatles had these ideas to create their own company to be based on, and it didn't work out. But then you have companies like Led Zeppelin and the Eagles, and a couple other companies, and the Stones, they had the people to kind of build it and do it better and fix all the problems that like.
But even those guys
didn't
were
do.
still playing. They were able to carve out their own. They were able to retain their own like power and like creative control over their own music within the system. But I think punk was like the first to like, well, you don't even need the system at all, because like Led Zeppelin was still signed to Atlantic. Like they had a. They
Very
had
supportive,
they had the pull to negotiate like a really good deal and own
same
their,
with the Stones.
Yeah. But you know,
if that's true, credit to him.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that idea started from the punk movement. So I honestly only have like negative connotations about the punk movement. It really, in my opinion, was a complete bullshit movement.
I was more negative towards the punk when I was like always. I was just all in on prog, and I'm not all in on prog anymore. It was just like I was with you. I'm still with you on like the musicality is just not that good, and so it's not that interesting to me. But
Yeah.
I'm always more interested in the kind of.
Honestly, it's different as a musician. Like
True.
when you play music, you're gonna listen to it differently.
I just think of like this.
And
sort of-
music doesn't need to be enjoyed by musicians.
I just think of the cultural movements that came out of that sort of punk, like the skater movement, which kind of led on to a new art movement that came out in the 90s of like different artists, and like stuff like Harmony Korine came out of like skating in Nashville. It's sort of.
I mean, aside from Harmony Korine, I can't really think of any other like people that came out of the skating movement. To be fair, like
I can't either, but there's a nice documentary about it. But there's a lot of people, a lot of famous art.
Like I just these niche things exist, and in my opinion, they never led anywhere. They like came out of like really good established things, but didn't really lead to anything that good. Like the skater movement, like you got Harmony Korine, but like what else?
Here's the thing is I'm not as big on the actual art like Banksy.
I mean,
Street art.
Street art it's not skateboarding.
Part of it is. Some of it's more urban. But
I mean, you have the urban element, but that's always existed in art.
I'm just saying, like that this stuff. I mean, there's been strides made. I can't point it off the top of my head, but there has been strides made.
I know. I just don't see the
If you
skateboarding
could ask me to
movement
name- if
and
you could ask me to
Banksy
name,
is like really
off
in
the
the
top
same.
Of my head, I can't name all of them, obviously, but like it's
Sure. I just don't see Banksy and skateboarding really relating. Like, graffiti.
it's
skateboarders like graffiti. That's the connection I see, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're connected.
They're not necessarily okay. Here's where I see it. It's the main, do what you have with the limited ability. You don't need anybody else in skateboarding.
Okay.
It's very personal. It's not an established sport.
Sure.
And you end up creating. It's a very creative sport at the same time, where you're trying to do
you can
different
make your
things
own
with
tricks
it.
or whatever.
So like, there's several layers to skateboarding besides like that lead to sort of other movements.
I mean, to be honest, they could be very related. I just haven't heard of it.
Okay.
And it,
The documentary is called Beautiful Losers.
Cool.
I don't think you're gonna watch it, but I'm just letting you know what it is.
I can put a guarantee on that, Steve. Just to
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, help you sleep at night. Don't worry, I won't watch it.
Okay. But yeah.
Let's go back to the Beatles.
Yeah, Beatles.
Fuck the Beatles.
Yeah, I honestly really don't care that much about the Beatles.
In general, or just not as much as you used to?
Both, I guess. The Beatles were my favorite band from when I was, I'm gonna say 13 until maybe 15.
Okay.
So when I was a complete plebe retard early teenager
I
that
remember
didn't know
those days.
anything about the world, the Beatles were my favorite band.
Yeah.
This may be an experience that a lot of people have had, especially during when the Beatles were still around. And yeah, once you get older and realize that the Beatles really didn't innovate anything outside of popular music, then you don't care about them that much. But in terms of popular music, they innovated a lot of stuff.
I mean, that's
still around today.
I mean, I don't think that's something to be written off. Like pop music, like that's like pretty ingrained in culture in general.
Oh, it
like,
definitely
as we
is.
know it today.
Pop music is huge in culture. I'd say even more now than it was when the Beatles were around.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even just pop music. Like music in general, I think.
I don't know about that. I'd say music in general has always been very important.
Yeah. I mean,
I'd say it's shifted more to pop music rather than folk music.
I mean,
but music's always going to be
not
popular.
that it's important, but like how it. I don't know. Like, what would you say? Like,
my thing is the Beatles. In another cynical note, the Beatles made everything more expensive. They made guitars more expensive. They made Vox, Rickenbacker, Neumann. A lot of gear expensive, but the influence they had, it's sort of it's there's like a hipster joke. I don't know. There's like the hipster. What was that? I forgot what it was called. There's a video I saw once called the hipster. It's like the hipster. Shit. What's that thing? Like a scavenger hunt, like a hipster scavenger hunt or something like that, where you're going around find. They go to a table and there's like find the most uncool thing. There's a sort of a Beatle. The Beatles are one of those things where, like, even in like a hipster world,
I don't even know where you're going with this, Steve.
Hold on,
you have to clarify.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. Like the Beatles have this weird thing where they're always going to be, their legacy will always be solidified, but there's always going to be sort of like ways to sort of tap in to see if there's anything wrong with it or anything that's overrated. They're always checking to see if the Beatles are overrated. It's really hard to do because if you look at everything being made and you look at the context of the time, and they're always like 2 steps ahead of everybody else, production-wise or other, like 1966, that was a big year for everybody. Mm-hmm. Or 65 is when everybody. 65 is kind of when everybody started to break through. The Stones, the Who, the Byrds, and a lot of other bands. That the psychedelic scene in San Francisco is just starting. So like in 65, but at the time, Dylan just put out all the Dylan Went Electric. At that point, the Beatles are almost halfway done with their history.
Yeah.
By the time all these bands are breaking.
Right.
So it's like, it's very interesting how in context the workload they did.
It's more than, their influence was more than just the music itself. It's like they influenced how we consume music, like how it's made.
The idea of contracts in recording contracts where they make you write the songs so they don't have to buy them.
Yeah.
Like that's that's
another thing. The singer-songwriters, like, they were the first to do that. Like, before, it was the Tin Pan Alley thing, right, where they would get someone that was easy to control who could sing, and they'd hire someone to write them a song,
or they just pick a song from a catalog and go for it.
Yeah.
And the Beatles started that early on, but they really were hesitant. They were really insistent on writing the songs.
Yeah.
And Martin was very influential.
Like, nowadays, if you hear a band, it's like, oh, do you know they don't write their own stuff? It's like, oh, fuck them then. Like, that ruins their integrity in the eyes of the listener.
You get those horrible memes of, like, Beyonce, all these 10 different writers that want credit, and then just like...
And then Beck.
And then, like, Bohemian Rhapsody, Freddie Mercury. Like, see, it's so much better than Beyonce. It's a retarded element. I can't stand those comparisons at all.
You know, I'll have to pull up a comic one of these days. It's called The Music Deafener. Misspelling in Music Defender about like this like middle school kid that like defends like Queen and the Beatles and Pink Floyd against like modern music.
I've been there. I was one of those fucking like bigots.
You know?
So anyway, like that element of like the writing element in the way that kind of influenced like, you know,
or albums, you know, like
the concept of an album.
Yeah, like before then, like albums existed, but they were really only for people who listened to bebop or people who listened to classical music. Like mainstream pop music was very singles driven.
Right. So it's interesting in that regard. So that and if they weren't the first, they kind of made their personal stamp on it.
They made it mainstream,
and yeah,
like they weren't the first. They weren't the first concept album, but they made it relevant. You
Right.
know?
So anyway, that's sort of the counter.
Counter to.
I think we were saying like they were just. I don't know. We were saying they were alright, or.
Yeah, I just don't think they, in terms of like actually, you know, important music, they didn't matter. They had a big influence on the music industry, but like obviously that's, you know, not that important. Like if you care about music, the music industry is irrelevant. You care about the artists. You don't care about the industry.
Okay. I'm trying to. I get where you're coming from, but
I mean, it's not. It's deeper than just like the business proceedings of it. Like all that stuff affects how.
Well, you were literally just talking about the business
like
proceedings.
But you know they don't have that unless you're good at writing those songs. If they weren't good,
like
at
that stuff
songwriting-
is there. Like yeah, it's the business, but that stuff affects how the listener consumes it. Like that's how like that like entire like memories were like created. Like people like remember like, oh, I remember buying this album. It's like if it weren't for the Beatles, it wouldn't be an album they would remember. It'd be this song and this song and this song, and like that's like that was a huge influence. Like even to this day, like now that's kind of gone back to singles, people it's still like people still
Right,
like
but
value the album.
You're talking about like memories of like random people. What I'm trying to say is that in terms of music and the music scene and like music as an art,
yeah,
they didn't innovate anything.
No, that's not true. That's a very subjective statement.
You can call it that.
I mean, how do you mean like the music, like the composition, or are you including like recording?
Both the
in that?
composition and the production and everything about it.
Production, I think they definitely innovated.
Very innovative production-wise.
I don't agree at all.
ADT production tape. The way they influenced they crossed genres and introduced several world music elements into pop music.
Pop music, not music in general.
I mean,
you can't stop that. You can't like put pop music and separate the two.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
I mean,
why do you say
because
that?
pop music is a subgenre of music.
So it's a subgenre.
If you're just going to belittle it, your whole point, your whole argument is because it's pop music, it's somehow less.
Not necessarily. No.
Yeah, it is. It's what you're saying. It's like.
I mean, you can claim
music.
I said that. That's fine.
No, but that's what you said.
No.
Yeah, it is. You just said,
literally
you
didn't
said
say
for
that.
pop music, but not music.
Yeah, they innovated
that's
more in
separating.
pop music, but not like the music, scene and the different kinds of music being innovated at the time. Like people in the 50s had a lot more innovation in music than the Beatles ever did.
Are you talking about like Music Concrete or something?
No, I'm just saying like the stuff the Beatles did musically
Or are you
had
talking about,
already
like-
been innovated before they ever even recorded their first album.
No.
Like there was plenty of rock music exactly like the Beatles that already existed before they recorded their songs.
Also false. I'm trying to figure out
In what way?
In the fact that are you talking about recording production or just the songs?
In the point I'm trying to make right now, just the songwriting itself.
songwriting itself.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
I would say the first couple albums aren't innovative, really. I would agree
Yeah.
on that point. But like, you take their career as a whole, like, I don't think there really is anything like them that came before.
I mean, they have a really nice
there's-
narrative
there's
of
some who
like
argue there was no
it's
music.
a great music career. It makes for a great story.
Yeah.
But like, you know, a lot of people that change the way music happens over the years, you know, the Beatles aren't really there.
They are. They really are.
Okay.
I mean, like, I'm not sure how, like,
Like, what's an example of someone who you would say is more innovative?
Like electronic music.
I just asked Music in Concrete. You said no.
Right. That wasn't the point I was trying to make at the time when you asked me the specific question that you asked me.
Okay.
Which was, did the Beatles, you know, have any innovation at the time? And I said no, because the music they made had already been made. But in terms of like a band that would be, or a kind of thing that was coming out around the same time, Music Concrete was a bit earlier. That started in the 40s. But electronic music, like bands in Germany, you know, they were doing more of that stuff around at exactly nearly the same time. That had much more, you know, in terms of changing how music evolves, a lot more than the Beatles did.
Okay. Here's the thing where I'm not saying that, I'm not suggesting that they didn't hear about it, but you're talking about influential.
I'm talking about music evolution.
Okay. So you're saying there's a bunch of bands in Germany either at the same time or prior to that already did what the Beatles did, but somehow they're not the Beatles.
No, I'm not talking about that the Germans did what the Beatles did. It was mostly black musicians and a couple white groups in America that already did what the Beatles did. In terms of rock music that the Beatles, you know, made really popular.
Okay.
In terms of musical evolution, at the same time as the Beatles existed, there were bands in, you know, Europe, specifically Germany. God, what's the name of that band? They were like an early electronic band.
Kraftwerk?
Kraftwerk, yeah.
That's 70s.
No, they were in the 60s.
Late 60s, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
The same time the Beatles existed.
Okay.
Specifically during the period that you guys claim the Beatles really were influential.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were always influential, regardless of
there's always going to be a different. There's always going to be a more innovative band. Like I remember, like Rolling Stone puts out like a couple when they put King of Limbs came out. It's like Radiohead inside the world's most experimental band. They are not the world's most experimental band. There's always going to be a more talented person out there somewhere. There's probably going to be a more innovative band than the Beatles by sheer number, by just law of numbers, law of averages.
Exactly.
So, but here's the thing. How many people heard Kraftwerk?
Probably a lot of really good musicians.
How many people heard the Beatles?
Everybody.
Everybody. That's the point.
So you're saying just because everybody heard the Beatles, that means they're more influential?
Yes. They could reach out more. They could reach out to more people.
That's where we disagree.
Okay, because just by like...
When I mean influential, I mean like influencing like smart, creative people. And you seem to mean everybody.
What I seem to mean is that there's certain, like the 10,000 hours theory that Malcolm Gladwell talks about.
Oh, like the virtuoso bullshit?
Yeah. He didn't come up with that, but everybody relates to him about that because he has a broader reach. Some scientists came up with that.
Yeah, which means they were the influential person, not Malcolm Gladwell.
No, but Malcolm Gladwell is a far more influential person by way of his reach and his broad.
That's popularizing something. That's not like influence.
That's still influence.
No?
Yes, it is.
I guarantee you anyone that actually learned anything from the idea of 10,000 hours heard it from the scientists and not Malcolm Gladwell.
I'm talking from a realist perspective here, is that You have to publish what you find. Someone else finds something. If they don't publish it, no one thinks they did it until someone else does it and publishes it.
What I'm trying to say is that the people that are actually going to innovate things know where to find it. They don't need fucking Malcolm Gladwell to publish something, to discover something. Malcolm Gladwell is there to capitalize on a discovery and sell it to everyone, which is fine. It's better that people know about that stuff. I would prefer the spread of information is good, but that doesn't mean they're influential. They're just popularizing something. The scientist who came up with that discovery is way more influential because they actually did it, and the people that learned from it and built upon it learned it from them and not Malcolm Gladwell because they already knew about it before Malcolm Gladwell ever published it.
I would say they're more innovative, yes, but not more influential because they just can't reach the mass audience. They need to reach the people they need to reach too.
I think we just have a disagreement on influence and popularity.
I don't think it's necessarily popularity.
Well, that's what I see it as. You're arguing they reach more people, so that's more influential. And I'm saying the people that first published it are going to immediately influence the people that build on it, which is more influential.
Kyle, what do you think?
I mean, you said how, like, anyone who would use that information got it from the original guy.
Because they're on it. They're reading about it every day. It's their passion. Well, that shit's not going to go unnoticed.
See, that's the problem. It's just so niche. And that's fine.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
The 20th century, there was plenty of avenues to find that. It didn't take until the internet.
Because here's the thing, like, people who are on it, they would find it first. But people who aren't necessarily on top of that or interested in it, they might read it from... Who wasn't Malcolm Gladwell? They might read from them, and he's the one they found out about it from. They're like, oh, now I am interested in it. Now I'll go back to the first guy to read about it more.
I think that probably does happen, but I would say it's much less likely.
Like, okay, we'll take Ravi Shankar, right? Sitar player.
Yeah.
People who, George Harrison was not the first person to discover Ravi Shankar, right? We all know that. He's also considered one of the greatest musicians of all time. Now,
I don't know much about Indian music, so I can't qualify that statement.
Just generally speaking, but point is that, let's say Ravi Shankar was like the cutting edge. You're talking about cutting edge shit, right?
Well, I'm talking about the people that have influence.
Right.
There's someone that actually innovated something, and then people that care about that subject are going to find it through the direct source before it even gets published, because usually there's a grace period of a couple years before an innovation catches on.
Yeah. Now,
it's getting shorter nowadays.
Yeah, it is.
But back in the day,
the internet, it's hard, and there was more filters back then. Now, the Beatles.
But in general, there was a grace period where the only people that knew about it were like the really passionate people that were either in the scene or somehow had a connection or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they knew about it before whoever published it made it popular.
Sure.
But
you won't get those massive, all those people, even the people that are niche and may be interested. You get turned on to Indian music. I got turned on to Nigerian Afrobeat. Not by searching out Afrobeat. I was introduced to it via other connections, a middleman who had more influence on me than the original guy cutting it on the cutting edge.
Right. No, I'm not trying to argue that these exceptions don't happen.
Okay.
My point is that, like, the real innovation, you can look it up. You're going to find the people that built upon it. They were like, oh, I was a fan, like, at the very beginning. I was right there.
Okay.
Like, it's less the case that you have, like, oh, I heard about this music through MTV and it changed my life. It's like, no, I was there. I was there at the time.
I think that happens more than you would think, actually. I think a lot of, like, the stuff that influenced the Beatles, people nowadays who listen to that, they would say, oh, I listened to the Beatles and that introduced me to Ravi Shankar or Stockhausen or Frank Zappa or a lot of that stuff. I think, like, a band like that, like, has the power to take those things that they make the influential people more influential. I think, like, something like Ravi Shankar, he's already influential in his own sphere, but
Right.
the Beatles make that sphere bigger,
Okay.
and they have influence that way.
I don't think them getting a bigger sphere makes them more influential, though. Like, just because you acquire a bunch more of, like, casual fans, that doesn't mean that, like, you're going to innovate more.
I think
You're
our
not going
biggest,
to influence
our
more
biggest
people.
contract is you equate innovation with influence, which I think is
I
separate.
think they're different things.
They're different things. Because here's the thing.
Sorry, I should not mean innovation and influence are the same thing, because that's not true. What I guess the point I should have just made to your comment was just because they gained more fans didn't mean they influenced any other movement. It just means they reached more people.
I think that's what influence means.
For me, the
Yeah.
way I see it is there's like a kind of a threshold, like once you get big enough to the point where like you're somewhat known, you pretty much max out through like influencing other people. Like when you hit mainstream, you're not gonna make other people more, innovative. Once you hit your sphere of like, people can access my music and listen to it or whatever art form it is. When you hit that point, that's the max of like how many other artists you're really going to influence.
It depends on what
Like
kind of,
becoming a multi-million seller is not going to be more influential than being like, a 500,000 seller. Just because you made that leap in that many more fans, like all those fans you just gained are not, they're going to be casual fans because like that's how it works.
I mean, most of them will, but I think
so
among
like
the-
it's such a small percentage of like the extra fans that really actually got influenced.
I don't think it's that small. I think most modern bands like who like play what could be considered pop music, even in like the vaguest definition of pop music, I think all of them owe something to the Beatles. Like they were all influenced by the Beatles in some way.
I think if you look at, let's just say we have the Beatles, and you said you were using Kraftwerk as an example. It was a band that may have been more innovative.
Yes.
Okay. The footprint the Beatles had, their influence. You have like every artist past that, say, they were 5 years old and heard the Beatles.
I guess it's
since 5.
it's a relevant
are they-
influence, which is a subjective thing.
Right. Which is
Like I
kinda
think
what I was
I
saying.
think their relevant influence is useless. Like who the fuck cares who was influenced by the Beatles? Like they didn't do anything innovative.
I was saying that inspires them to do what they were doing.
More people listened to the Beatles and made music than like say Kraftwerk did, in my opinion, doesn't make them more like innovate or influential in terms of the music scene. Like the evolving scene, like they caused less genetic mutation if you want to relate it to actual evolution. Their change in the genes of music was very small, almost non-existent. They were very derivative. They were the dominant gene. They had no recessive genes that created a diverse kind of evolution of music, if you want to relate the two.
I would say I would perhaps disagree in the sense of their songwriting capabilities. That became a major deal.
That
was a big innovation.
So many bands, even at the same time, that had innovative songwriting technique that were also popular.
But they weren't the Beatles.
Yeah, the Beatles are the Beatles. You're right, they weren't the Beatles.
That's what
The
I'm saying.
Beatles were
That's-
the Beatles.
I mean, I'm not saying,
But that doesn't mean that they made more changes in the genetic, diversity of music.
No, but everybody was trying to imitate who? The Beatles.
If anything, that it may be
What are we
worse
trying-
that they did that.
Like-
There may be less genetic variation because they were so dominant.
Perhaps, but I don't. There's always an expansive influence elsewhere for them to put their own twist on things. But the Beatles, here's the thing: the Beatles, based on their history and based on where they came from, very average, lower to middle class, like working class people coming from working class towns. It made it far more accessible that you could be able to write songs that had an imprint on people.
Yeah, I don't really buy that. There were plenty of people that were not from the richer class that had songs that were popular.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
I mean, yeah, there were,
but they weren't the goddamn Beatles. It's hard to say. I know it's not. I'm trying not
yeah,
to
the
use that
Beatles have this
argument.
great legacy. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say that they like did nothing for music.
That's also
That's
false.
my point.
But and I'm saying it's not true.
And what's your argument?
Is that there's like, do you think, like, okay, if you take the Beatles out of the existence, do you think anything changes?
No.
Okay, wrong.
What changes?
You said like the writing changes.
Really? You think writing music changes?
I'm telling you this right now. Yes, the writing changes.
In what way?
You have different, more complex structure.
I mean, rock and roll in general was on its way out before, like the Beatles kind of pulled it back into mainstream relevance. Like without the Beatles,
and
rock and roll would be, it's that thing in the 50s people listened to.
Yeah, and like rock and roll is very simple and didn't innovate much.
I already made these arguments before. They made their production techniques, bringing in, experimenting with tape design, tape delays, psychedelic techniques, double tracking, multi-tracking, even though America sort of had that kind of taken over. It had a certain thing about it.
I mean, it's all fueled by competition.
Sure.
You know, everything influences everything else to an extent.
Sorry,
Like- Yeah. The one album I could think that is more complex writing-wise might be Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
And that might be more influential. But that's the only one I could see it. All right, we're going to take a break.
So I think we left off at mono versus stereo.
Oh, yes. And, so I think we should go ahead and move on to our kind of ending rapid fire questions. So if you can name me, is that okay with you, Eric?
Hold on.
Okay.
All right, what were we saying, Steve?
We're going to go ahead and move on to the questions at hand, the basic standard questions.
Oh, the questions of the week that we ask everyone.
Yeah. So what are 5 things that you are eating, drinking? No, I'm sorry. That's the wrong one. What are the 5 things? That's the second one. What are the 5 things that you are, name 5 things that you are
listening to, watching, reading.
Or, was it something else? We're saying to, watching, listening to, or reading.
Okay. I've been on a James Brown kick lately, listening to a lot of his Live at the Apollo albums. I recently got on Record Store Day, they put out Live at the Apollo Volume 4, which is actually not a whole lot of James Brown on it. It's like he kind of MCs the show.
Was that?
And
what years were that?
All of them?
You polished? Oh, okay.
4. Wait, what?
Was it what era? Was it like the R&B era or the funk era?
Oh, it was like a year after Volume 3, which was 72, I think.
Okay, still on the funky side.
Yeah. But it's basically just James Brown Band, and he kind of MCs it, like talks between songs, but there's a lot of instrumentals and like guest singers. I think he only sings one song on it. It's kind of cool, but something else. I've been watching is a guy on YouTube. Have you heard of Tech Moan?
No.
He's a guy on YouTube, does a lot of like retro tech reviews, like a lot of outdated audio formats. Like he talks about like stuff like cassettes and stuff and 8-track and stuff, but he gets into some really obscure stuff. He did a video on one. Do you want me to like explain all of them, or should I just list them?
Just list them.
Okay. Do you want me to start from the top?
Yes.
Sure.
Thanks. Thanks, Eric.
The five things I'm listening to. James Brown. Tech Moan is a guy on YouTube, does a lot of retro tech reviews.
It's not just listening to, it's 5 things, and it includes reading and watching.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be 5 bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just showing like a YouTube thing. He threw a YouTube thing in there.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to start from the top.
James Brown live albums. I've been listening to that, a lot of that. Been watching a lot of videos on YouTube. A guy by the name of Tech Moan. He also runs a blog, techmoan.com. A lot of retro tech reviews. I recently saw Miles Ahead, a movie about Miles Davis. That was a really good movie, and
very good movie. Incredible ending.
I've been listening to the Beatles in mono since we're talking about that, and porn is the 5th one.
Watching, reading, or listening to?
I don't read.
Okay.
I think that explains that.
All right. Well, what are our 5 things that you are eating, drinking, smoking, or masturbating to? What specifically in the porn are you jerking off to?
You have to start with that, but you can if you want.
No, yeah, we just go back from the beginning.
What specific porn am I?
You just go back to like eating, drinking, smoking.
Eating and drinking. Eating, drinking. Been eating a lot of M&Ms. I believe M&Ms are the highest form of candy. I think all other forms of candy should be outlawed.
I gotta disagree.
That's why I want to vote Trump in. He said he's going to build a wall around to keep all the Snickers out.
Like M&Ms are bullshit.
Old stance there.
I like peanut M&Ms. I don't like the other M&Ms.
I like almond M&Ms.
I think M&Ms are as bland as Tootsie Rolls, but they're not as bland as Tootsie Rolls.
think
I'd
they're-
rather ban Tootsie Rolls than M&Ms.
Are they as bland as the Beatles?
I'd say M&Ms are. Tootsie Rolls are more bland.
Okay.
Did you know M&Ms were... I heard M&Ms were made for soldiers in Vietnam because the candy shell prevents them from melting so that they could give soldiers chocolate in the hot jungle while they don't melt as much. So they'd have chocolate. That might be false, though. I don't know.
Could
what was the other one?
Drinking, smoking, or jerking off to.
Jerking off to.
I don't drink a lot. Drinking a lot of water.
You drink liquid.
Yeah, I drink water because
Coffees, teas.
You gotta. I don't even drink coffee or. I don't even drink soda. Honestly, like I've never liked soda. I used to drink like a lot of sugary drinks, like lemonade.
Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
What?
It's coming back this summer.
I used to drink like lemonade and shit, but like
right now
like
you can get 3 12 packs or more for $3.99 per 12 pack at Vaughn's. So go ahead and get your Mountain Dew Baja Blast on. Just gonna plug that.
Remember to bring your Vaughn's card.
You can use your phone number. You don't need your Vaughn's card. You can sign up at the register when you're checking out. So it's really easy.
Yeah, I drink a lot of water because you got to stay hydrated. Smoking, nothing that I can admit online.
Good call. You can also edit it out.
And masturbating too was the last one you wanted, right?
Yeah.
Hentai?
You know that picture
Black
of There's this picture.
Cock porn? Are you at cuckold?
No. There's this picture of these 3 people. I think it's a family of people.
Do you like trap porn? Like boy pussy?
Who are like at this like some sort of convention or something. They're all cosplaying and like.
Cosplaying is what?
As all
Kill a Kill. Power Rangers.
Let the man finish.
I was trying to do like a Red Letter Media thing where like he keeps trying to interrupt the joke and like Mike's just like, excuse me. Can I finish
My
the
Little
joke?
Pony?
Yeah, I've been jerking off to My Little Pony.
Oh, we got
Good.
Brody.
Are you into like anal vor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit's off the rails.
Yeah.
You get absorbed into the anus. Are you big into fuda? Chicks with dicks?
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have do you like it when they're both fuda, or do you like it's a guy and then a fuda girl?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you like hairy guys or pretty boys?
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
You know that's smart. you get to maximize the amount of dojin that you can read if you get both.
Yeah.
Do you like kind of more masculine traps with like less tits, or like more feminine with like big boobs and also like a big dick? That's a big thing. Do you like a big dick on the fuda, or do you like a small feminine dick?
Yeah.
You see, that's also good. Kyle's efficient. He maximizes his dojin potential. Yeah,
Yes,
and
he
that's
does.
not bad. If you can get turned on by everything, then you're honestly in a better position in 2016.
Rule 34 applies to my brain as well as the internet.
It's good.
Like, the same as you can make any porn, I can consume any porn.
I mean, you can consume any porn. Everyone can, but it's what your dick can consume. That's the biggest concern.
Everyone can, but I will.
You know, that's like an ideology thing. You know, I'm sure there's people out there that consume as much porn as they can, even if they don't jack off to it, just on principle. But I'm more concerned about what your dick's responding to. That's really the heart of the matter here.
Yeah. I've been masturbating to a lot of E-fucked.
You fucked.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent choice.
Did Jim show you E-fucked?
He did.
Oh, it was something else. Gotta spray some Febreze on that shit.
In all seriousness, no.
That was just one of those podcast moments where we had Gabby. It was like Valentine's Day weekend. We had Gabby and we had Ryan, and Jim's just there. He's like, "Oh, we got to show these E-fuck things," just trolling, like
wannabe porn stars.
Trolling wannabe porn stars.
They're just basically like insulting human garbage, and it's a bit uncomfortable because like if you got a shred of empathy, you're like, oh man, like these girls, like they're already bad off enough.
That's all they showed you?
That's all Jim showed us. That's all we saw from me.
Oh, that's nothing.
I guarantee it's nothing.
Like
I don't go on eFucked, but I know about it. And I know what goes on there, and I know it's a lot worse than what we saw.
There's been a few times I've been joking this past couple of, but in all seriousness, I've gone to Kentucky's house a lot when a bunch of our friends are over, and there have been times when they've been like, "Let's put on eFucked on the TV and let's just watch a bunch of like the most fucked up shit we can find."
This is Kentucky of stereo mother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
And every time I have looked away for the gross part, and I don't regret any of those times I looked away, because every time I look away, all I hear is all my friends in the room going, "Oh fuck!" Like just freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, humans are human garbage.
Yeah.
This has been established since history's been recorded. It's not going to change.
It's never going to happen.
It'll never happen. So I mean, humans are degenerate scum.
Speaking of M&Ms,
immoral garbage.
Speaking of M&Ms, I saw there was one eFucked video we saw where
M&Ms up the pussy or ass or penis hole.
Worse, they took a funnel and stuck it inside this woman's ass cheeks to spread her anus open, and like poured M&Ms into her rectum, and you could see her exposed rectum skin.
You see that beehole?
So she was pouring
tight-ass
M&Ms
beehole,
in, and they
or
were just
probably
falling.
loose-ass beehole.
And I
she's
think
doing
she was
this video.
I can't remember exactly. I think she was queefing them out or something.
No, I mean, you can't put them up the beehole and queef them out unless there's some magic involved. I feel like those are like two different tracks.
Yeah.
As we learned from Jim last time. That's why chicks can take the fist
This
so
is
far up.
Part that I hope none of my family
Because
hears.
the uterus and cervix or whatever only goes up so far.
Right.
But anally, you can get through the colon, you can get up all in there.
Oh, there was the one
That's
we
why
saw.
anal fisting.
There was one we
that's where it's
saw
at.
where someone, I don't know if this was real or not, but someone
It was probably real.
someone just like put their fist up someone's vagugu and like lifted their fist up, and you could see it coming through their stomach, like it was like the thing
See,
from Alien.
that's where Jim enlightened us last time. That's through the
Oh,
ass.
he told you about that? Oh,
Yeah,
It's BS?
yeah, he explained why. Because going through the vagina, you can't go that far.
Oh yeah.
It stops. But going through the ass, you have all that room. You got the stomach and colon, all that intestine bullshit. You can get all the way through.
Maybe it was her ass then. I don't remember the video.
If
but-
I'm gonna believe Jim, because of I've never gone elbow deep in a vagina. I'm gonna assume that that's not possible, and I'm gonna take Jim's word for it. That it seems likely. I don't know. I don't know, Kyle. I don't know if you've gone elbow deep in a vagina, but I have not. So
I haven't. No.
yeah, that doesn't seem like a Lost Beat 6 tradition of having
No.
people that have gone elbow deep in vaginas, but
We'll talk to Ryan on the show.
Jim says you and I have to get Tinder profiles and see how many. I have a competition to see how many we can.
Is that what Jim said?
I like that.
How many women we can get based on his strategy he laid out last time.
I think we can put that on the website.
Yeah.
I think this would be good.
It's I mean, I already got my
I feel
three.
like I'd bet on that.
I already got my 3 picks. I got one with my homies. I got one with just me.
The job.
Waiting on the job.
So yeah, no. I think we could take bets on that. I feel like that. DraftKings, that's legal. We could do the same thing. We'll make it as like a sports fantasy betting website. We can include that. You can have your like a weekly fantasy team.
Yeah.
Of like our Lost Beat 6 beefers. Like who's gonna really get up in there and get those Tinder and plenty of fish matches.
Who's going to take the most fat chicks out to Mongolian barbecue?
Exactly. Exactly. Next week we're gonna have a lot of new updates. I think that's one we can do.
Yeah.
Tune in next week. This is
So,
a big ad for next week.
Yeah. What would you say is your biggest failure?
A big. Whoa, that was going deep there.
Yeah. No, that's our hardest hitting this question
Supposed
of
to be
the
our
week.
first question right off the bat, and then it's in like,
And then that didn't happen
My biggest failure.
in your whole life. Something even you maybe regret every day.
every day.
I got a C in my high school physics class once. That fucking haunts me to this day, man.
Were you a straight A student?
No.
And you never got like a D or an F?
No, I was mostly like mostly B's with a few A's and a few C's here and there, depending on my investment in the class. But that particular physics class, just there was something about it made me go, man.
Did it prevent you from getting into a good school?
It didn't. Like,
all right, then you got to explain why it's your biggest failure.
It's just every day I think I just really I have to do physics right now, and I can't. And it's because I got a C in that class. I regret it to this day.
Physics are very important.
It's the biggest fuck up ever. Like, every day it's like I'm handicapped because I don't know advanced physics.
Yeah, projectile motion, gravity. I mean, these things are super important.
I graduated college. I have a pretty good job. None of it means anything if I can't do physics.
I mean, it's true. You're pretty much a baby dick plebeian if you can't do basic physics.
Yeah.
So
fucked up.
I'm sorry you came to that point in your life.
Ruined my life.
I hope you can come back from it. But if you can't do basic two directional projectile motion, then you probably should kill yourself.
Yeah.
So,
but I got an A in Carrie Christensen's music business class, so that makes up for it.
So, who do you want to see on the show? Call out some people.
Tom Green. I think that'd be.
Yeah, I'd like Tom Green too.
I want Tom Green on this show.
I feel like.
Do you mean people who we know?
Challenge him to plentyoffish.com.
I'll challenge him to a bunch of shit. I fucking challenge him to a drinking competition. I'd happily lose that if he can beat me.
Yeah.
You should get Kentucky on this show
Yeah.
if he's willing to drive.
From all I've heard,
here.
I would like to get Kentucky
Kentucky
too.
Clausen's a motherfucker.
You know,
be great.
that sounds like someone we should have on the show.
I also have this friend Troy who I don't know if he knows either of you well enough to drive all the way out here, but if you can,
he definitely doesn't know me.
If you can get him on the show, he's always interesting to talk to. There's never a boring conversation with Troy.
Well, I mean, eventually we'll get to the point probably where we can do like Skype
Troy.
call in.
I met Troy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if we're gonna get Mark M on the show or Martin Oakes, we'll probably Skype them in. You know. Speaking of Martin Oakes, I'm gonna put him on.
Mike Dekovich, if you can catch him when he's back from Oregon.
Yeah, we need to do that. I'll have the rolling on too.
And they haven't rolled in forever.
I know.
I think the last time, did you hear about Ben's film class where he?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
It was great.
Did you hear how his teacher was like, "All right, guys, next time, check your talent before you bring them in," and he just glared right at Ben.
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh yeah. Reasons why I don't believe it. There's a million reasons why it can't be true. When fire cannot steal, it's not hot enough. It's nothing new, it's not a mystery. It's at the Reichstag, Germany. Million questions still not answered. There's a million questions still to be resolved. Of 19 Muslim guys, 7 still remain alive. It's not a mystery. The USS Liberty.
Oh my god. Has Sean told you about Gomer Hendricks? Like, so in high school, we were both in an AP physics class, the one I got a C in. Sean also got a C in that class. Neither of us took the final AP exam. So while we were everyone was taking the test and we were just sitting in the classroom listening to Jimi Hendrix. And Sean had his iPod out, and this was like back when iTunes was bad about matching artwork to the right album. And he was looking at the album artwork on his iPod, and he's like, "Who the hell is this guy?" Like, we looked closer at the album artwork, and it was like some guy dressed in a wizard outfit riding on a giant stake, and it said Gomer Hendricks Electric Meatland. And we were looking at it like, who the fuck is Gomer Hendricks? And Sean looked him up later. and he looked him up on iTunes, and all the user reviews were like, man, this guy sucks. Why is his album cover on my Electric Ladyland download? So that's what this reminds me of. Are you still recording?
Gotta be strong, we gotta hold on up until the job is done. And they made a killing. They don't care about the blood that they're spilling. Oh, 9/11, 9/11, one went down with Building 7. It's since that fateful day, human rights have disappeared. A global fascist state draws near, and the freedom slips away. They don't give a stuff, no one give enough. Now it's up to us to break it down.
So, I think we're gonna finish up with the. Oh, excuse me, it's kind of hot. Finish up with the beefer of the week and the queefer of the week.
Oh baby!
Unless you want to do any of the anime picks or anything like that.
Anime of the week. I'm gonna go JoJo Part 4, and I'm gonna put on a track to take a shot to support my pick. So, Steve, I'm gonna request you put the microphone next to the amp.
We need to get this going. We should strap it up.
All right, continue. This is my anime pick of the week. Oh, I'll be the host then. Keep it at the amp. I got it. All right. So Kyle. So every week we have our pick of your favorite person of the week and your least favorite person of the week, and they're called the beef of the week for your favorite person, because we love beef in it. And you know, I think we've talked about beef in it in the podcast before. If we haven't, you know, we will eventually. But beef in it is essentially kicking it with your homies with such a disregard to everything that you're just kind of in the moment. It's a philosophy. We won't get into it, but beef in it is like what you want to do.
Yeah.
And then queefer of the week is like a complete baby dick faggot that is like ruining the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to tell me your beefer of the week. Someone in this last week that you've really, you know, someone you've seen that has inspired you. And
like someone I know or like anyone.
It doesn't have to be someone you know. It could just be someone that is really, you know, going hard in terms of, you know, being a badass, I guess. It's hard to describe it without really getting into the beef philosophy, but it's like a beefer is someone that's, you know, not giving a fuck and doing right for the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's a short summary, but it's what I can give you right now.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Louis C.K.
All right.
Because I saw him in Oxnard recently, and
did you do a stand up?
Yeah.
Nice.
He
Where in Oxnard?
The theater, the Civic Arts Center.
Okay, fuck yeah! I didn't even know he was here.
Yeah. He
shit.
Yeah.
I fucking should have seen that. I love Louis C.K.
Yeah, I think on top of the set being really good, as it is with him, like, what's like really cool about him is that he so like on the night I saw him, we were
What
like,
was really beefing about him? That's what we're interested in. This segment.
So like on the night I saw him, like we went into the theater and they were doing a thing where like they would, when we entered the venue, they put our phones in these like envelopes and locked them, and then so that we couldn't use our phones during the show.
Good.
And
I wish more venues did that, to be honest.
Yeah, and we would just get them unlocked as we left, but it held up the line, so the show started an hour late. And Louis,
that kind of sucks.
And
but
I think it was Louis' idea because right before the show started, he was like, "Hey, sorry, this started an hour late. I'll give you a partial refund." So everyone got like 50% of their money back. So I got like, I spent $40. I got 20 back because of that, and you know,
hell yeah, $20 to see Louis C.K. where no one has their phones.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to shill anything, but I'd fucking do that.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
And honestly, the set was good enough that I would have been fine with him not giving a refund. But you know, he's cool. He does that kind of stuff all the time.
No phones today. That's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, my friend Ben saw him 2 nights before at the Comedy Store in Hollywood, and they didn't have the envelope thing, but they made an announcement that they would kick anyone out if they saw them using their phone. So
good.
I think props to him for trying to innovate in that way and keep people off their phones during a show, and also props for owning up when it didn't work. So
I gotta fucking 100% agree. That's fucking great.
Yeah.
All right, so next, are you and I gonna do our beef for the week, or do you want to get Cal's queef for the week?
No, let's do our beef first.
All right, are you ready, Steve?
I'm ready.
All right, go ahead.
My beef for the week is Larry Wilmore.
Who's Larry Wilmore?
Larry Wilmore is a comedian who hosts the nightly show with Larry Wilmore that airs after the Daily Show on Comedy Central, and he was presiding over he hosted and emceed the White House Correspondents' Dinner, similar to and had a response that was similar to like Stephen Colbert's, except he didn't hold any punches, and basically was kept at 100% kind of real, replying, "Barry, you did it, my nigga," which is great.
I heard about that story and all the fucking retarded controversy around it, and
I thought it was great.
No, I thought it was excellent. I feel like the more we separate who can say what words, the more it actually propagates racism,
right,
and tribalism,
right.
So the less we stigmatize words, the closer we'll get to actually having a good community,
right.
So I'm totally fine with whoever says what word, and it should be okay because words are words. Words are not actions.
Right.
So,
just for context, Larry Wilmore is black.
I mean, I know that, but
okay.
my point is trying to be,
I agree with that. I just didn't know if you knew that.
Yep.
That's fair enough. Based on my performance tonight, I would assume the same thing about me.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, my point still stands. I think this stigmatization, if that's even a word, about words is not good for bringing people together. It's better at dividing people, saying, "Oh, you can say this word, you can't."
Yes.
And I don't think that's going to work.
Right. So, all you PC faggots, stop it.
Yeah. You fucking complete baby dicks. You can fucking suck my balls because you're gay faggots. And my beef for the week is the man himself.
Its impressive length. It's a nimble navigator, and some can be highly venomous. Just like the tarantula it's killed, the centipede has 2 curved hollow fangs, which inject paralyzing venom.
R.I.P. in peace, Ted Cruz.
having a hard time tonight.
Wow.
Go back to Univision. Go ahead.
This was tweeted from Donald Trump's Twitter.
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
You can't stump the drum.
I'm Donald Trump. I wrote The Art of the Deal. I say not in a braggadocious way. I've made billions and billions of dollars dealing with people
Billions
all
and
over
billions.
the world, and I want to put whatever that talent is to work for this country. So we have great trade deals. We make our country rich again. We make it great again. We build up our military.
America
we
great
take care
again.
of our vets.
Make
we get rid of
anime real again.
Obamacare, and we have a great life all together. Thank you. First of all, Rand Paul shouldn't even be on this stage. He's number 11. He's got 1% in the polls, and how he got up here, there's far too many people. Anyway, I think his response, his visceral response to attack people on their appearance, short. I said, Rand, I've had you up to here. I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there.
Holy shit. Rand Paul just got blown the fuck out. The manlet will never recover from this epic stumping. Oy vey. You know what time it is. It's Jeb Cut time. Brought to you by Jeb's Quack Bowl.
Because they like the fact that he is not bought and paid for by wealthy donors. Mr. Trump has repeatedly said that the $100 million you've raised for your campaign makes you a puppet.
Totally false.
You wanted it, and you didn't get it because I was opposed to casino gambling before, during, and after. And that's not, I'm not going to be bought by anybody.
I promise, if I wanted it, I would have gotten it.
No way, Ben. Talk shows, you got Hillary Clinton to go to your wedding because you gave her money. Maybe it works for Hillary Clinton. It doesn't work for anybody on this stage.
I was a businessman. I got along with Clinton. I got along with everybody. That was my job, to get along with people.
But the
I didn't
simple
want
fact
to,
is...
excuse me, 1 second.
No.
I didn't want to...
Tactical nuke incoming!
You cannot take...
More energy tonight. I like that.
Governor Bush, Mr. Trump has suggested that your views on immigration are influenced by your Mexican-born wife. He said that, quote, if my wife were from Mexico, I think I would have a soft spot for people from Mexico. Did Mr. Trump go too far in invoking your wife?
He did. He did.
Oh shit. Jeb is pissed. Can he stump the Trump?
You're proud of your family, just as I am.
Correct.
To subject my wife into the middle of a raucous political conversation was completely inappropriate, and I hope you apologize for that, Donald.
Well, I have to tell you, I hear phenomenal things. I hear your wife is a lovely woman.
She is.
I
She's
don't
fantastic.
know her.
This attempted stumping is not going well for Senior Jeb.
And this is
She
a
is
total
absolutely the love of my life,
mischaracterization
and
what
she's
I
right
said.
here, and why don't
Good.
you apologize
Good.
for her
No, I won't
right
do that
now.
because I said nothing wrong.
Blown the fuck out.
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong.
Holy shit. A wild chill has appeared. Will she finally be the one to stump the Trump?
Maybe you can prove me wrong, but I don't think that you're a friend to woman. Friend to woman.
All right, so let me give you that answer right now. I respect women incredibly. A daughter named Ivanka and a wife named Melania who constantly want me to talk about women's health issues because they know how I feel about it, and they know how I feel about women. I respect women. I love women. I cherish women. You know, Hillary Clinton said he shouldn't cherish. Well, I said, I do cherish. I cherish women. My mother was one of the great people of the world, maybe the greatest ever, my mother.
Is it on? Okay. I want to get paid the same as a man, and I think you understand that. So if you become president, will a woman make the same as a man, and do I get to choose what I do with my body?
That's it. It's all over now. Surely the Trump has finally been stumped.
That's the Arby guys.
Make the same if you do as good a job.
What'd he say?
You get paid the same if you do just as good of a job.
What?
This was literally retweeted. Or tweeted, whatever, by Donald Trump's official Twitter. With a smug Pepe standing at the presidential podium. I'm telling you, Kyle, 2016 is the year of memes.
Yeah.
And memes have brought us Donald Trump.
Oh man, he's the first.
He's going to be the first meme candidate and hopefully the first meme president. I'll have you know, I'm anti-political. And I hate right-wing people more than any.
Yeah.
But I'm registered Republican because I'm voting for Trump in the California primary. Because I believe in memes more than I believe in politics.
So who are you voting for senator?
Oh, I'm voting for Trump and weed. Those are the only two things I'm voting
for senator?
If I could, I would. Last time around, I voted for anime characters and Corey's dick from episodes 1 and 3. I will probably vote for rappers, child molesters, anyone I could think of. You know,
Charles Manson.
I might go Charlie Manson. I'll probably vote Death Grips and something. You know.
Yeah.
I've said probably 2 or 3 times now already, but you know, Metal Gear Solid style. Politics in America, democracy is a complete theatrical performance.
Sure.
Oh, I have to tell you this. Like about a week ago, I was watching like political stuff on YouTube, and I got so sick of hearing about it that I texted all my friends, and I was like, "All right, guys, I'm sick of this election. I'm president now. The election's over." And then I just started listing all these preposterous policies that I would do if I was president, like all stuff that's designed to piss off both the left and right wing. So, like, one of them was that my stance on affirmative action is that only black people can be CEOs, but they can only hire white supremacists. So no one's happy because, like, the black people have insubordinate white supremacists who don't want to work for a black guy. And, like, the white supremacists aren't happy because their boss is a black guy. I said all women have equal rights except for feminists. Feminists are the only women that don't get equal pay as men. And
Nice.
We'll accept Syrian refugees, but they can only live in Florida, and everyone currently living in Florida has to kill themselves.
So what's our queef for the week?
Are we going to queef for the week?
Yeah, we should do that.
So, queefer of the week. Opposite of beefer of the week.
So someone we hate?
Yep.
Okay.
Particularly hate for the reasons that you liked beefer. They were the queefer, the opposite. Like everything you said about who you liked as beef of the week, you hate queef of the week for the reasons that they didn't do that.
Okay. So someone who didn't own up to a mistake they made.
That could be part of it. It's essentially someone who is usually a complete hypocrite that, you know, exemplifies everything wrong with humanity.
Well, there's this guy I've been following on YouTube that I'm particularly makes me cringe when I listen to him. Have you guys heard of Steven Crowder? Have you heard of him?
No, I have not.
He runs a right-wing political blog on YouTube called Louder with Crowder. I don't mind the fact that he's right wing. I've actually been enjoying like listening to opinions I don't agree with, but this guy is like such a dick. Like he's always like, oh, like left wing people call people racist and they're just trying to suppress free speech, and like I kind of agree with that, but then he gets offended when people disagree with him. So he's always just like running his mouth with straw man arguments and false facts. I just hate listening to him.
There's definitely a lot of right-wing retards that do that.
Yeah, I mean,
I've seen a lot of that bullshit.
But this guy is like not even like with Fox. It's like, okay, they're owned by evil corporations. I get it.
Yeah, fucking Rupert Murdoch.
But like this guy is like,
I mean, media. There's 6 media corporations that own every TV frequency.
Yeah. But this guy
that's a different subject. We'll get into that later. I just want to state that there's 6 different companies that own every single TV frequency, and that's probably what's murdering the world. I don't know. Go ahead.
And this guy's on YouTube, so he doesn't owe anybody anything. He's just a dick because he's a dick. He's just like that, and I hate it. Like, I don't know. He says some things that make sense, but he says a lot of things that are fucking bullshit and stupid.
Well, what in particular did you not like? You can't just claim he's a bullshitter and not say anything.
Okay.
In fairness,
one thing that particularly bothered me was the first thing that comes to mind is he had one video. It was
straight out of Compton. Sorry,
supposed to debunk the idea of democratic socialism, and it was like saying why he disagrees with Bernie Sanders, which, you know, I'm interested in that because I support Bernie Sanders, and I want to hear what this guy says. And he spends the whole video talking about the definition of democratic socialism, but he doesn't relate it back to any of Bernie Sanders' policies. If you look at Bernie Sanders' policies, he's not really a democratic socialist like he says he is. He's more of a social democrat because he's talking about, with socialism, you don't have private enterprise or profits and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's true, but Bernie Sanders isn't saying we should do that. You know,
Germany and France and all these European countries, they have private companies, right?
As far as I know, they all do.
Yeah, like Sweden.
Last I checked, they do.
Then fucking Spotify, IKEA, they're like from like Sweden and Denmark and all these places where they're supposedly socialist countries.
Yeah. Angry fucking Birds was from like.
And one argument.
Angry Birds was from fucking. I forgot the country. God damn it.
We should probably nuke that country. Just saying.
And
Finland.
One argument.
I take it back. Finland is our greatest ally.
and one argument that got under my skin was, oh yeah, people say Sweden's great because they're a socialist country, but they have the highest rape statistics in the world. It's like that has nothing to do with economic policy. Like socialism has no bearing on like rape statistics. This is completely preposterous. Yeah, fuck that guy.
So awesome.
Louder, Crowder, don't listen.
Eric, you got a bequeather of the week?
I do. Let me just put on a video.
Okay. Should I go with my bequeather of the week while you're doing that?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, my bequeather of the week is the British government because they were naming a boat, a ship, and they decided that they were going to have the people name the boat, and so the entire British people decided to name the boat Bodie McBoatface.
What?
Okay, so the British people were there was a sort of a poll or a survey to name a new naval vessel for the Royal Majesty's Navy. So basically it'll be, so they decided to name the British people all got together and said, okay, the name of the new vessel is Bodie McBoatface. And the British government said, no, that was a bad idea. So they took it away and just named it the RMS David Attenborough.
And
you gotta call your goddamn boat the RMS Bodie McBoatface.
Put me in a hard spot, Steve. hate puns. I hate stupid bullshit.
It's not a pun, is it?
I said I hate puns. I hate stupid bullshit.
It's not stupid. It's not stupid.
Bodie
Boatface.
McBoatface. It's not stupid bullshit.
As far as I know.
According to you, it's not stupid bullshit.
No.
No. Okay.
But you know what? You have when you're the government and you allow the people to name a boat whatever they want.
The people have spoken.
The people have spoken, and they're like, nope, you don't get to do it. Shadow puppet.
They're the real socialist regime.
Shadow puppet. British government.
I would agree with you 100% unless it was a stupid fucking retarded name like Bodie McBoatson.
It's not Bodie McBoatson. It's Bodie McBoatface.
Sorry. Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah, that's so much better.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. In the exception of a name like a fucking retard could come up with. Oh, Bodie McBoatface. Like, no, you don't get to name a boat that. That's too retarded. You have to have a minimum standard. Like you can't have.
No, you don't. You're naming a ship. It's a ship.
No, you can't name anything that. Fuck that. That name's too retarded.
Did you know?
Eric, don't be queefing me.
Did you know there's a study that if you give boats a weird name, it won't do as well in school. All of its friends will make fun of it, and it'll be more likely to commit a violent crime when it's an adult.
And it's more like to be fucking retarded. Like Bodie McFucking Boatface. No, there's nothing wrong with letting the people vote. But sometimes the people come up with some stupid bullshit like that, and you can't let that happen. And I completely disagree. I'm fine with like a retarded name, but it's got to be at least a little bit creative. You can't have Bodie McBoatface. Like, no, that's an actual boat.
It's a name that
like
makes
I
me
would
smile
never
every
want to
time.
work on a boat named Bodie McBoatface.
I would totally work on a boat.
I'd work on a boat named Bodie McFaggotface because it's not Bodie McBoatface. It's at least something. So I mean, like, fuck no, I would never want to be part of that. So you can't just be like a literal like third grade pun or third grade wordplay or third grade bullshit.
These are grown people that made that name.
Yeah. That never grew up. They're mentally third graders. Welcome to adult life. That's how it is.
If the government
That's why the Beatles are so popular.
If the government knew that. Then why would they do that?
Because those people have meat and they can produce shekels. You can't antagonize everyone and expect to like have your, ecstasy machines that jack off your dick 24/7. That doesn't come from nowhere.
All right. Well, they're my queefers. The UK government, British government. My queefers of the week. What's your queefer of the week?
My queefer of the week. Let me pull it up. My queefer of the week is Queef Queen's Revival. Let me replay that for the microphone. Now, before I play it, this bitch has some of the nastiest queefs. She's got fucking staccato queefs, legato queefs. Like, I don't know why she's made so many queef videos on YouTube, but fucking me and Jake one time looked it up, and this is what we saw. Like, that sounds like a fucking language. Like, that queef is so fucking... Like, you gotta be kidding me. Jesus Christ.
All right. So I think that wraps the show up. I think we can't. It's gone as far as we can take it. I want to thank Kyle for coming and hanging with us. And would you be down to come back and talk again sometime?
No, I'm never talking to you again, Steve.
Okay.
I think that's a fair opinion.
I don't really blame
I would
you.
probably agree with you if I was in your position.
So we want to thank Kyle and Kylie McKyleface for coming over.
Well, thank retards everywhere for being so fucking retarded that we can make fun of them.
All right. Peace.